Welcome back to pixelprojectradio, the video game discussions podcast where we do deep dives on the games we love and some that you love too. My name is Rick, I'm your host, and today we'll be talking about The Quarry, released in 2022, developed by Supermassive Games and published by 2K. As I always say at the top of these episodes, please stick around to the end so you can hear us talk about our socials, where you can find us on the internet, where you can listen to our shows, and etc. And as always, I am joined by a very special guest today. He is one half of the Good, the Bad, and the Backlog, currently recording from halfway across the globe, practically. We've got Adam. Adam, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, and just letting you know I am in the future, and the future is looking bright.
Is it, though?
Well, it's morning here, so yeah, the sun's out, everything is shining. Everything is shining, not just the sun. The birds are shining, the trees are shining, I'm shining, and it's a positive day to be alive.
This is an energy that we don't often have on this show.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bring the positivity today because it might not be so positive later on, but we'll see.
That is true, for a variety of reasons, maybe. So, like I said, we are talking about The Quarry today. This is a sort of spiritual successor to the game Until Dawn, which was also done by Supermassive Games. We did an episode on that sometime last year. I think. So you should go check that out, listeners, if you haven't done so yet. Adam, what's your history with this game?
This game in particular, I was gifted this game last year, I think, from my partner for, I think it was... Gosh, I can't remember. It was either a birthday or a Christmas or something. I don't know. But I got the game. It was on sale. And he is very much a spectator when it comes to gaming. He's not really someone that plays very often. He likes to watch me play games. And games like this that are sort of narrative-driven and story-focused are exactly the type of game that he enjoys to watch. And, you know, it's a very good interactive audience participation game. So that's why we got it. And also on my podcast, we've covered a couple of the dark, the Dark Pictures Anthology games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a fan of these games. I've only really played Until Dawn and Man of Medan and now this one. So I still need to catch up on all the others, but I like this genre and I like Supermassive games in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So do I. And you're exactly right. These games are really great for playing with a partner, with a friend, watching a partner or a friend play them, or even watching streams on Twitch. I think they really lend themselves to that sort of audience. And there are some accessibility features in this one too that kind of make that easier, what with voting on choices and avoiding copyright claims on licensed music and things like that. Do you,
when Until Dawn came out, I'm sure you'll probably tell us the history of this anyway, but did you ever attend any of those, like, Until Dawn parties? Like, that was a thing back in the day where people would get around in big groups of people and just play the game. Was that a thing that you would do?
Oh, no, I've never heard of that before.
Oh, there's, like, that Halloween parties where, people get together and play the game. Like, full groups of adults. Weird. But yeah, it also kind of reminds me, not to get too off topic, but it reminds me a lot of when I was a kid, when I would get those Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure books. And it's very much like that in game form. So I'm like, yeah, I love this. But anyway, what was your history?
No, absolutely. They do remind me of the Choose Your Own Adventures books. And I was a huge fan of those whenever I was in school. I would always take those out from the library, when we would have to go to library class like once a week. And I would always check those out. My history with this game is sort of the same as Until Dawn. Not quite the same, but similar. I mean, I bought this, I think I bought this day one when it released, actually, last year. Oh. And, I played through it. I was a huge fan of Until Dawn. I really like it. And I'll say up front that I don't like this quite as much. I think in some areas it's better, in some areas not so much. But it's still a pretty strong game. And even though I didn't like it as much as Until Dawn, I still had a really good time. And I was really excited whenever you said that you were interested in doing this for the show, because it fits perfectly within, the Halloween month, within October.
Yes, Halloween. the holiday that I don't celebrate.
Not even a little candy? Trick-or-treating?
Oh, trick-or-treating doesn't exist in Australia unless it's organized between families in a specific neighborhood. It is like strictly an American thing.
Oh, that's crazy. I was about to make a joke that they don't have it there, but I'm okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah. I mean, the closest we get is slutty Halloween parties where obviously people just dress up in as little clothing as possible, get drunk, and hook up with someone whose face you can't fully see. So, you know, very eyes wide shut.
I'm into that. I like that more than trick-or-treating. Anyways.
Yeah. No, we have people that protest trick-or-treating. They're like, it's fucking Australia. We don't do that here. Get your kids off my lawn.
Wow. That's a weird hill to die on.
Yeah, sometimes there's some anti-American sentiment that flies around in suburban neighborhoods. But anyway, I digress.
Couldn't imagine why. The Quarry, for listeners that maybe are not familiar. What is it? Well, it is set in the aptly named Hackett's Quarry in the town of North Kill. A lot of those kinds of names in this game. This narrative-driven, choice-based game sees you take control of 9 teenage summer camp counselors, finishing the camp's season. Not all is as it seems, as these woods have long been considered haunted by the hag of Hackett's Quarry. Mysteries abound as 2 camp counselors mysteriously disappear, I used the same word twice, on the night of a full moon, and it's up to you to figure out what is going on. What do you think? Is that a good TLDR of this game?
I think it's a very mysterious description, but it's good. It's accurate.
It is. Yes. Thank you for. Yeah. Let's call me out on not proofreading my own work. I don't do that all the time.
Who needs to?
Yeah. Nerds, losers, dorks.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Before we move on, I wanted to do the community forum. I love the community forum. So what that is for new listeners, which, by the way, if you're a new listener, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back all the same. We're glad that you're here. The community forum is a channel in our Discord server wherein I post what games we're doing or topics, and I invite our Discord members to contribute, to give their thoughts, to give their ideas, etc. And we did get 2 responses. I thought there might be more, but I guess, not as many people have played this game. We got 2 responses for the Quarry, and I wanted to read them now. So first, we have got Ryan from the podcast Listoff. You just heard him here, 2 weeks ago on this show for Blair Witch? It was great. Here's what he has to say about the Quarry. The Quarry was a big disappointment for me personally. I had just played through House of Ashes and was really looking forward to what Supermassive would bring to the table next. Ultimately, the Quarry fell a bit flat. I didn't connect with the characters and found the story and gameplay to be lacking when compared to House of Ashes. I think the developers should be applauded for the bevy of choices and possible outcomes they put into the game, but House of Ashes remains my favorite Supermassive title. That's very interesting to me. I don't hear a lot of people say that one of the Dark Pictures games are their favorites from this production company.
My issue with the Dark Pictures ones are they are just too small and don't seem to have as much of a budget, but that's just based on playing Man of Medan, so I'm curious to see what the others are like.
That's a pretty common sentiment that I've heard about them. I have honestly never played one of the Dark Pictures games, but I think they're seen as like the smaller projects. And then, the Quarry was going to be the first big one since Until Dawn. Yeah,
I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, but I think that actually works on like a positive for playtime in some respects. Like a smaller, shorter game is more easily replayable than something that's like 10 hours long, but I digress. What else does the community have to say?
Well, I agree with you for one, but we have one more piece of correspondence from Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog and a Top 3 podcast. Here's what he has to say. I enjoyed The Quarry about as much as I enjoyed Until Dawn, but I liked The Quarry for different reasons. I thought the characters in The Quarry were more likable and believable, but because they were more likable, it wasn't as fun to see them die in gruesome ways like it was in Until Dawn. It was also much easier to keep them alive this time, which I'm not sure is a good thing. Still, I had a good time with it and thought the performances were really fun, especially the fortune teller and Ted Raimi as the cops. Does this look like the goddamn Harbinger Motel to you? Not sure that was a very good Ted Raimi on my part, but, I'm not a voice actor, so sue me.
I think you nailed it.
So I kind of gave my thoughts already on this game in a sort of succinct way. How did you feel about this?
I am actually very torn on it because in some respects I like it a lot more than Until Dawn, but in others I think it fails significantly more than Until Dawn. Like, maybe it's specifically because I haven't played Until Dawn for a couple of years now, but I look back on that more fondly, at least in terms of characters, whereas this time around there are a good 3 or 4 characters that I absolutely despise and I think are terrible human beings. And I'm sure there's like 2 in Until Dawn that I really hated, which was, what was her name? That really
Emily.
bitchy one. Yeah.
Emily.
Yeah. The bitchy one. Hated her. And also hated the other girl that was like stringing along the blonde guy.
Ashley.
Yeah, with the big eyes. Yeah. Couldn't stand her either. But whereas in this one, there's like 3 or 4 that are like, ugh, just die already. I don't care about your social media. Just die.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
We'll get to the characters here in a little bit. If you had to give this a rating, like let's say out of 10 peanut butter pops, how many are you throwing at this one?
Look, if it's a really good sun shining morning and I'm feeling very positive, I might give it an 8. But I think I'm going to have to knock it down to a 7. Just because, I've got to be critical.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm about right there with you. I was leaning at like a 7.5 out of 10 peanut butter pops. Maybe like a
You
4
mentioned
out of,
peanut butter fucking whatever pops they are, and I'm just like, yeah, that's a point taken off just for that one part.
So let's talk about some of the raw facts and figures with this game before we dive into it. This game, as I said, was released in 2022. It had the shortest development cycle out of any of the Supermassive games, which I found interesting. Part of that, I think, had to do with COVID, because that happened as this was getting developed. And I don't know about you, but I think you can really tell during the sort of ending pacing of the game that they were a little bit rushed.
Kind of. Like, I had no idea that this one was a shorter development time, because I thought it was noticeably more high budget than at least the ones that I've played, like Man of Medan, for example, seemed like a budget game, whereas this one is like, oh, they've put some real effort into this. But yeah, the ending is a little bit rushed, for sure.
This game was directed by Will Biles. It was written by Graham Resnick, and also Will Biles and Alex Farnham. As we mentioned, this was a sort of spiritual successor to Until Dawn. It was their next big game outside of games like Man of Medan and the Dark Pictures anthology. They were majorly, for this one, influenced by some classic horror movies. Your Friday the 13th, which, hey, by the way, we're recording this on a Friday the 13th. That's kind of cool.
Oh, shit.
Majorly influenced by that, as well as some other classics like The Hills Have Eyes, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead, and etc. One of the major things that I saw that they cited as a sort of influence from the research and feedback they got from Until Dawn was that they did less jump scares in this one and focused more on creating tension. I love that. I am going on record now. I am not a huge fan of jump scares. I think they're kind of cheap. I would much rather feel that kind of feeling of dread and feel scared because of the environment and the tension. And I think they do a great job of that in this game.
I actually didn't even notice that it was lacking jump scares until you said that. Because now I think back, I'm like, oh, man, you're right. Like, Until Dawn and Man of Medan had a lot of fake-out jump scares, which actually ruined the tension of the scenes and stuff. Whereas this, it actually just feels like I'm watching a horror movie. Like, a decently paced horror movie. I might change my mind on that later on. But, not like a cheap, trying to be a roller coaster thrill ride and get all the teens to squeal and then latch onto their boyfriends at the cinema and then he sneakily grabs their boobies or whatever. It's more mature, I guess. I don't know where I was going with that.
I was going to let you just keep going and keep painting that picture. I was into it.
She drops the popcorn. She has to bend down to pick the popcorn up. Her left titty falls out. He accidentally drops his Snickers bar in between the cleavage. I don't know. Please stop me.
Listen, man, you're not going to get stopped from me. The listeners have already tuned out at this point. They've either fast forward or they've pressed stop.
Well, if you like that, you can check out some of my erotic fiction over on wherever erotic fiction is hosted on the internet. Just Google it.
Oh, geez. Getting back from that, I was about to say you mentioned, and then I forgot what you mentioned because I was thinking about the Snicker bars and the left titty.
Damn it.
I think there's there's one jump scare towards the very end, and I think there might be like one or maybe two in the very beginning, but this whole game, which I don't know, what would you say? It's like 16 hours long? 12, 16, something like that?
Oh, 10, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't
12?
check my playtime.
10, 12?
Something like that. It's not a super long game, but in that whole runtime, there aren't tons of jump scares. It's very much focused on the tension of the environment. And speaking of Until Dawn, just like that game, this cast is really stacked. There are a lot of big names here from former horror movies. Lance Kendrickson, or is it Erickson? I didn't write it down. One of the actors from... Yes. One of the actors from Alien, he's in here. Some of the bigger names that you might recognize, though, are Ted Raimi, David Arquette, who plays a police officer, who plays one of the counselors. Not counselors. Jeez Louise. The Chris Hackett is who I mean.
Yeah, the owner of the camp.
Yes. Ethan Suplee is in this, and Brenda Song for all the Disney Channel kids out there. She plays one of the camp counselors.
Don't forget Lin Shaye, legendary horror icon, and the lady with the saggy tits from There's Something About Mary.
Yes, Lin Shaye. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, the sister of Robert Shaye, who is the producer of New Line Cinema, who created, or who helped create the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Oh, wow. I did not know that, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, I probably said one of those things wrong, but she's definitely tied into the Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, she actually played a teacher in the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie as well.
Dang, look at that. So maybe this cast is a little more studded than I had thought. I will admit I didn't I didn't wiki dive on every single actor in this game, just the sort of big name ones. But yeah, the whole cast though, I don't think there are any outright bad performances.
I would agree.
There's one that I'm not a fan of, but I mean, I think everybody does a really great job. And, there aren't any standouts like there were in Until Dawn with Rami Malek and Peter Stormare. But everybody here, like as a whole, everybody is really, really good. I will call out some different characters as we meet them throughout the story. But yeah, I in general, I liked everybody. I am a little bit bummed that even though the cast as a whole is stronger, they didn't lean into the tropiness as hard, like the cliches that you find in some of those cheesy 80s horror movies, like they did in Until Dawn. I loved that. I really loved that. Like you've got your jock, you've got your the bitch character in Emily, you've got all these stereotypes, and they kind of moved away from that. These people are like 1 degree off of a stereotype. But as a whole, the cast is really good. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but
I
it's good
kind
stuff.
of agree, but I also kind of disagree because I think it works in its favor a little bit. Like the bare bones of the cliches are there, but it's almost like it's actually being updated for a modern setting. Like, and it is a modern setting. Like it's taking, those sort of 80s inspired horror movie cliches, but putting it in the 2020s, I suppose, or the 2015s, or the noughties? No, the naughty 10s. What's the term for like 2010 plus, with the iPhones and shit?
I mean, I thought it was just 2010s.
Oh, well, I don't know. There's always some like weird, like shorthand term. But anyway, I think it's updated them to like the social media generation, and I think it's done it relatively well because even though I dislike quite a few of the characters, I think that their actual characteristics are somewhat accurate to what you would find in today's day and age, which is extremely frustrating to some degree.
Yeah, I think we can expound on that once I know exactly who you're talking about when we meet that one character. For now, though, one last interesting thing that I found about this is that this was originally going to be a Google Stadia exclusive.
Ugh.
Isn't that weird?
Disgusting.
It's just very weird. Like a big company like Supermassive with, actors like Brenda Song and Lin Shaye like doing a Google Stadia exclusive. How bizarre. And thankfully they didn't because, we all know that Stadia is dead now. And we might not have played this had it been an exclusive there.
I wonder how that came about. I bet you Google just threw a bunch of money at them. It was like, hey, Until Dawn was really successful. How about you guys make a game for us? And then they probably were like, oh, money, we like money. But then looked at, the writing's on the wall for Stadia. It's not, it's not going to survive this console war type of thing, even though it wasn't ever a contender. So let's just bow out of that and make our money on the consoles and PC.
Bit of a shame. I liked Stadia in theory, but, I don't think it would have been a serious competitor, honestly.
It's too confusing for me. I never understood what it was or how it worked. I was like, I don't like this newfangled technology. Just give me a console and a disc to put in it.
So playing this game, if you've played Until Dawn, this is very similar. Your primary mechanic is walking. You're exploring. The way that I like to think about these games is you're not role-playing because each of these characters, they are written characters. Like Jacob is the jock character who's also a goofball. Emma is the social media influencer. But you get to be the director. So you're kind of sitting in the director's chair. You're telling them where to go, what to explore. You get to tweak their dialogue. And that's really cool. And that comes into the game's biggest draw in its choice system. So all throughout this game, you are going to be tasked with a choice of sorts in various situations. Dialogue, walking through the world, exploring the cabins, etc. And usually it's presented in a binary option. So you'll get choice A and choice B. If you're in a conversation, it'll be represented by two different emotions and a little tagline. So it might say sympathetic, cheer him up, or it might say direct, we need to go, something like that. And then those characters will deliver dialogue that's, like that. I really like this. I don't know about you. I'm a big fan.
No, I like it too. I think I definitely prefer it as one of two choices rather than, say, for example, if we want to go like PC RPG route where you're selecting like one of 7 dialogue responses. I think it's like way more effective to just be like, pick one of these 2 options and then let's see how the story progresses from there. And I know that my co-host, Kieran, has an issue about, I don't like picking one dialogue option that's vague and then the character responds in a way that I wasn't expecting, but frankly, that doesn't bother me. I actually quite like it. It's like, give me the emotion behind what you're about to say, and I'll pick it, and whatever you say based on that emotion is up to you, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I actually agree with Kieran here. I'm not a fan of that either, but the thing is that I don't think these choices are vague. They'll tell you this is the direct choice, and then they say more or less what's there. I can't remember if it was like this in Until Dawn, but I definitely played a game within the last year where you got to choose dialogue options and, what was shown on screen wasn't really what they said. Maybe it was Until Dawn, but or maybe it's Life is Strange. One of the two.
There's definitely that sort of thing that exists in, I'm pretty sure Man and Medan does it too. But the thing that doesn't bother me about that is that if you're watching the story unfold and you're getting a feel for the characters, when you pick the dialogue option, I think you get a pretty good gut instinct of how it's going to go based on what you pick. Like if you have an asshole character that's going to say something sympathetic, you can pretty much guess that whatever sympathetic thing they say is probably going to have a hint of asshole to it, which might backfire in their face, that kind of thing. So it's kind of like, you pick the choice. It may not be exactly what you think is going to happen, but it's what the character would do based on that choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they do it really well in this game. That's nice because, you want to feel like the director, right? In the director's chair. And if you're not given complete information, it's tough to do that.
Hmm.
In addition to the choice system, another mechanic from Until Dawn that kind of returns is the QTEs. QTEs. It's been a year of them. Adam, how do you feel about QTEs in general?
I don't mind them. I don't like unexpected ones, but when I'm playing a game like this, I'm expecting QTEs to be there, so it doesn't bother me. It's just a bit jarring in like the old days when you have something like, Resident Evil 4, for example. You're just strutting along a path as Leon or whatever, and then a small little cutscene happens, and you're like, oh, a cutscene. I like cutscenes. Let me just watch and see what happens. And then all of a sudden, you have to dodge a fucking boulder by smashing a button or something like that. I don't like those because they're unexpected, and then they're too easy to fail. Whereas here, it's like, yeah, QTEs are part of the experience. You have to expect QTEs to happen. It's not a completely passive experience. So, doesn't bother me one bit.
When I think of unexpected QTEs, I always think of Bayonetta 1, which we covered on the show earlier this year. Man, some of those QTEs come out of nowhere and they're just instantaneous. What a pain. I don't like those. But the QTEs in the Quarry, though, they're a little different than they were in Until Dawn. So in Until Dawn, or, Bayonetta, Heavy Rain, things like that, you are given button prompts. Press X, press right trigger, things like that. In the Quarry, they have simplified it excessively, I think, and you're given a circle on screen, and it tells you a direction that you need to press the right stick. So it'll say up. Then you tilt the right stick up, and that is a completed QTE. The window for these QTEs are also much longer. To be quite honest, you're not going to fail any of these by accident. Is that fair to say?
I failed a couple of them when I first played.
So I'm just kind of shit-talking you by accident here.
No, it's fine. I think it must have something to do with the accessibility features as well. Like, I know you can simplify it even further. And I think when I played, I do recall having to press buttons other than just the joystick. I think I had to mash a button, like A.
Yes,
or B
there are some mash A prompts.
Yeah. Oh, that was just too challenging for me. So, caught me off guard. But no, I definitely missed a couple of QTEs, and a couple of characters died because of that. So maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention.
Well, I think we could say for sure they're definitely simpler than like Bayonetta, and I think they're simpler than Until Dawn. Mainly because you're really only focusing on the A button and the right stick. You don't have to worry about, your thumb being too far away from square, your left hand not being on the controller to press L1, things like that.
Yeah, it's perfect one-handed gaming if you just happen to really enjoy your time with the game and want your other hand to explore other places.
Jesus Christ. Yep. Eating all the peanut butter pops is what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nice in a way because you can choose to fail some of these, right? Part of this game is exploring failure, and sometimes you might want to purposefully fail a QTE just to see what happens. Like in the beginning, there's a QTE where somebody tosses you your cell phone, and it's not a hard one. You can get it pretty easily, but if you miss it, they just kind of rag on you and they make a joke. Oh, looks like your cell phone was in airplane mode or something like that. Just silly things like that. But they can also cause character deaths, as we'll talk about later on.
And I just want to add, I really am glad they dropped that whole hold the controller still thing from Until Dawn, because that was bullshit.
Oh, okay. So that's the next mechanic that I was going to bring up, is the don't breathe mechanic.
Yeah.
In Until Dawn, it's like what Adam just said. The PlayStation controller had a gyro sensor, and you had to hold it still. So if you were trying to stay really still to hold your breath from the monsters in that game, you had to hold your controller still. In this one, you hold down one button. That's interesting that you don't like, or that you like the change, because I don't. I prefer the old way.
No, I failed too many times in the old way because I'm
but
like...
that's why it's fun and exciting. You gotta you gotta try.
I am fidgety and my hand just keeps on going like all over the place. I can't hold anything still. I'm like borderline Michael J. Fox sometimes. So it's just like I could not successfully complete most of those in Until Dawn. And because of that, spoiler alert. Well, no, it's not a spoiler. But at the very end of the game, the lives of like almost all your characters at the very end is based on holding the controller still. I failed that, and like every single person died in Until Dawn. So
yeah, in Until Dawn. That's not for the Quarry.
Yeah, not this one.
Yeah, that last one was a bit much.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, shit. I just spent all this time playing Until Dawn, trying to get all these characters to survive, and one mess up by having old Johnny shaky hands here not be able to hold the controller still, and everyone dies in one hit.
One of the cool things that I will say they did with this iteration of it is the don't breathe mechanic. You just hold down A and then your character holds their breath. You've got a meter on the right and left sides that will show you your lung capacity. And when it reaches 0, your character will automatically breathe. And what the game is asking you to do is hold your breath until it's safe. And for a lot of the game, you can just hold it to the very end and you're safe. But not all the time. And I like that they do that. There's one in particular towards the end that I just played the end today. And I held it beyond the point where it was safe. And then the danger came back and I was like, oh shit. And then I got caught. And I like that a lot. You can't just be lazy with it. You have to be paying attention. And I think that's cool. I wish they would have done it a little more, but it's still very, very cool.
Agreed. I liked the way that they did in this one. Much more than the shaky hand thing. But yeah.
It's also nice, too, because the reason that they likely did go away from that is because this is cross-platform. It's on Xbox. It's on PC. It was supposed to be on Stadia. So, you can't really use the PlayStation controller's hardware as the model, right? It's too exclusive.
Does Xbox have gyro? No, it doesn't, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Oh. It never occurred to me that it doesn't have it because it's such a superfluous thing that I don't think we really need.
Here, man. I do not like motion controls at all. I can't stand them.
That's one thing I blame Nintendo for. They really screwed us over with that Wii.
They had one good idea with Wii Sports, and then they put it into a Zelda, and you're like, this is horrible.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, oh, we got to have that too. It's like, no, you don't. Please just give me a game where I can press buttons.
Just to get through the last of the mechanics here, the collectibles from Until Dawn return. Not exclusively the same, but they're functionally the same. You can find collectibles that will tell you the history of Hackett's Quarry, the history of the Hackett family, the history of like a central mystery that's going on throughout the game. And instead of totems in this one, like in Until Dawn, you can find these tarot cards. These will serve as your way to see like little glimpses of what ifs during the chapter intermissions, where you can see what might go wrong. And that kind of can give you a clue as to what you might want to do or not do. Those chapter intermissions, we'll get to them. In this one, they're a little weird compared to Until Dawn. But anyways, one thing before we get off the collectibles, I wanted to give a shout out to the pause menu in this game. I really like what they did with this. You could view your collectibles, yes. You can view your objective, yes. But specifically the paths chosen thing. So in this game, you're making a lot of choices about what to do narratively, and you can see the paths that you're on in this paths chosen start screen. And it frames each one like a little mini horror movie, complete with like a little VHS cover. Like one of them is called The White Whale, and you could see, oh, this choice that I made here led to this choice, and that led to this choice. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I liked it.
You're not as excited about it as I am, but I really liked it. I thought it was really creative to see the little VHS cover arts too.
Yeah, it's cool. But confession, because I was playing this in front of somebody else, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the menus because it's like their attention span has to be taken into account. And I do like to spend a lot of time in menus, especially like RPGs and stuff. So I intentionally was like, all right, I'm not going to waste any time in the menus. I'm not going to bother looking at all these tarot card stuff or whatever collectibles we need to get. We're just going to play the story and then be done and dusted and then move on to the next game. So yeah, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the menus in this one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, especially if you've got an audience or you're playing with somebody else. I mean, yeah. But the menus are very cool. They're very stylized. You get a full map of the whole quarry and the camp. You get you can view your tarot cards. You can view your objective, and the pause menu has a big old close up of whoever's mug you're playing as, just staring at you while you're looking at the information.
A very detailed one as well.
Yes, and speaking of detailed, let's talk visuals. I don't have a lot to say about visuals. Thank you. I don't have a lot to say about the visuals other than they're very impressive. I mean, they looks damn good.
Yeah. What did you play this on?
I'm glad you asked. So I originally played this on PC, and I started a playthrough on PS5, and then I realized the PS5, it looked weird somehow. It was like, I don't want to say blurry, but it kind of looked blurry, and the whole being locked to 30 FPS thing. So I actually went back to PC and finished my playthrough there. What about you? You're a console guy. Did you play this on Xbox?
Yeah, this is one of those games where it's like released on PS4 and PS. Does it have a dedicated PS5 release? No.
I'm pretty sure.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it's one of those cross-generational games where it has a old generation and a new generation. So I played this on Xbox, but I played the Xbox One version of it, not the Xbox Series version of it. And I don't think that there's any graphical upgrade if you're just plugging in the Xbox One version. I don't think it like upscales it to look like the Series version, which is really disappointing. But as far as it actually looked, I thought it was pretty good. Like the details, especially in the characters' faces, in the pause menu, for example, which is what I brought up earlier, like you can see the little red lines in the whites of their eyes and stuff. I'm like, oh man, that is fucking cool. Their eyes are so bloodshot, just like mine from staring at the computer all day. And, like little blemishes and freckles and stuff. Really, really good stuff. Although I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube just to sort of refresh myself coming up to this, like reviews and what other people thought of it. And everybody else's games, like maybe I did the wrong thing and I had the brightness cranked up too much, but all of their games looked way too dark. And I just thought, wow, why would you leave it on that setting? Why wouldn't you improve it? And I made mine not like blindingly white, but I made sure that the dark wasn't so dark that I couldn't see the detail. And once I had boosted the brightness just a little bit, the detail of the environments and stuff stood out way better. And I thought the game actually looked really, really good. So I don't know, maybe the default darkness setting for everybody else's games is just way too dark and they're just too dumb to actually boost the brightness. But that's me.
I'm glad that you brought that up, though, because I said the same thing in our Discord, and somebody else was like, well, did you update the brightness? And I was like, yes, of course. Like, I always put the default brightness as like 2 nits or 2 ticks above wherever it's set, where it's supposed to be, quote unquote. But this game is really dark a lot of the time, visually. So what I did was I used one of the filters. This game, I can't remember if it was like a week 1 purchase or like the deluxe edition purchase or whatever, but you can get various filters to overlay over the game, as well as alternate costumes. I used the 80s costumes for this playthrough where everybody is dressed like they're from the 80s. It's very cool. And it paired really well with the filter that I used, which was an 80s VHS kind of, not blurry, but like a CRT filter, with the like, it looks a little like grainy.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not, it's not a perfect filter, especially like if you catch the characters like the wrong way in the sunlight, it looks really bad. But when the cutscenes especially are playing, it looked like an 80s movie. And, a couple times I cranked the frames down to 30. It looked like I was watching it on an old TV. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
But the reason that I mentioned that is the VHS filter also raises the brightness considerably, which was really helpful.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as you. Like when it says, make sure that the icon on the left is barely visible or whatever, I'm making sure that it's visible. Even though it's supposed to be like the dark icon, I'm like, yeah, but I still want to see it. So I tend to play most of my games with a little bit more brightness than is probably required, but I thought I had a good contrast of levels of brightness and stuff. So I don't know. I think the game is default like way too dark. But having said that, overall, like I thought it looked really good, although I did have quite a few graphical glitches as well on really weird things, like hair, for example. Yeah, it's just like stuttering, shaking. One character's hair was like doing a spaghetti dance the entire scene, and I'm like, why is your hair moving like that? It was like jiggle physics, but for their hair, and it didn't make any sense for that scene. But anyway, I digress.
I had a couple of those. They weren't too bad, but they were definitely a little distracting. One last thing to talk about before we jump into the story would be the sound design and music. This was composed by Ian Livingstone. He's a film, TV, and games composer. He has done work on several of the LEGO games. He was involved with Forza Horizon 5, and I think the biggest thing that he's done has been Napoleon Total War, which is a Sega game. This is divided into two categories like in Until Dawn. It's licensed music and then like composed ambience, stings, things like that. The composed stuff, the ambience, the stings, and the things like that, I thought they were all very good. The licensed songs are bizarre, and some of them are so out of place. I don't know what they were thinking, man.
I liked it.
They're like, there's some of them that are just very, like anytime the hunters are on screen, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Ford commercial where it's like, bow, 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 bow. Ford tough, and it's like, it's like what? And there's one specifically that I wrote down in the notes that we'll talk about when we get there. That's just really out of place. But yeah, I don't know. It's not that the songs are bad. I just like, out of all the music that you had access to, why did you pick that one?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I think the first song that pops up is like an Ariana Grande song or something in the intro. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually didn't mind it because, I mean, I don't listen to her music anyway, but I thought it kind of gave it this level of authentic film vibe. Like I'm actually in a cinema and I'm actually watching a horror movie that is targeted towards teenagers and, you know, what are we up to now? Y? No, millennials. I don't know. Young people. It's targeted towards young people who like Ariana Grande and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, cool. You know, I'm kind of digging that. That puts me in the vibe. That's cool. And then, you know, the other songs that popped up, I mean, I didn't really recognize any of them, but it made me feel like I was watching a licensed film. So I was like, cool. I dig it. And the ambience, fucking do that bit again. The ambient music, I thought was also really good. I mean, pretty good. It wasn't intrusive and it made its point when it was needed. I didn't stop and think, ooh, this is a really funky ambient track. Just thought, oh yeah, the music is appropriate for what is actually happening. So in my book, that is a tick, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that. Never distracting. And then the sound design in general, you know, it's all very good. We've already talked about the acting is very good. With the exception of those licensed songs, in my opinion, everything is good. It's great. It's this is a very well presented game.
Yeah, and I like the licensed music.
Yeah.
I actually like it even more now that you pointed out it was like a Ford commercial.
Dude, it totally is. It totally is.
I want to see those hunters just like selling utes or what do you call them? Pickup trucks. Just in their overalls, being like, yeah, we're tough men and we sell Fords.
When you got to work on your car with your hands, Ford is your friend, or some bullshit like that. I don't know. I'm not a car guy. I can't even make fun of it because I don't know them.
Yeah, me neither.
So, is there anything you wanted to say before we jump into the story? I mean, This is a really well presented game. I think we both came out liking it quite a bit. There's some stuff to criticize, sure, but overall, a lot of fun.
Oh, I did have an issue with one character's acting, actually, and that was, I think the actor's name is Justice Smith, and he is the guy that's also in Detective Pikachu.
Let's put a pin in that until we get to him, because I 100% agree.
Okay, all right, cool. Oh, yep. Remind me.
Oh, believe me, we'll talk about it.
Okay, good.
So just a couple of things before we jump into the story. If you're new here, what we do in the second half of these episodes is we do a beat-by-beat analysis, just like a book club in real life does. Can you believe it? A podcast talking about video games like a book club? Who would have thunk? So we're going to do that, but because of the nature of this game, so many different paths can be present, even if they're just slightly different. We're not going to mention every single derivation or deviation, nor are we going to mention every if this then that scenario. There are way too many. I noted down a couple that I thought were interesting. Adam probably has some in mind that he thought were cool, but as a rule, if we don't talk about something that you really liked, we might just not have seen it. You know, that's just how the pieces lay in these kinds of games.
Yep.
And with that, why don't we go ahead and get in our car and see if we can't make it through the woods past the Harbinger Motel all the way to Hackett's Quarry as we go through the story of the Quarry. Gotta be a better way to say that, but the music is telling me it's time to move on, so let's go.
I love the fact that the Quarry is a double entendre, because the Quarry is the location, but the Quarry is also another word for a hunter's prey.
Is it? Wait, really?
Yeah.
I'm like a words guy. I can't believe I didn't know that.
An animal pursued by a hunter, hound, predatory, mammal, or bird of prey.
Oh, cool. It looks like these writers did their homework, and
Yeah.
I did not.
I like words.
That is cool. That's nice. There is a lot of heavy-handedness throughout here, which we see from the very beginning. The shot opens in the intro with the camera sort of looking out into an abandoned highway from the woods. The camera is moving almost animal-like here. We get some POV shots that look like they're from the perspective of an animal. Lots of shots of the moon. It's the imagery is very on the nose once you kind of learn what the mystery is. And in this intro, we meet our two first characters, Max, who is driving the car, and his girlfriend, Lara, who is passenger. They are lost, and Max won't admit it. This is where you get your first QTE here, and you get your first tutorial. I don't think we mentioned the tutorials. They're presented in like a drive-through movie animation style, or drive-in movie animation style.
It's almost like it's trying to be Fallout 3 in a way, with the whole like Pip-Boy thing.
I really liked it. I think they're very cute.
I thought they were okay. I thought they were actually a bit out of place, but that's fine.
We get our first choice here. You can, I think it's to grab a leaflet of the camp or to grab a map, but the outcome is the same either way. Max gets distracted, and it causes them to crash. You run off the road and crash into the trees below. And in this ensuing chaos, we see somebody in the back seat, a woman, a spooky woman. And they do this a lot throughout the game, just placing this woman in particular in the background just as like a scare. I think it always worked. I just think it was always really well done and made me, it spooked me, You
actually got spooked?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay. I just thought, it's the ghost of an old demented nana who's lost her way. I'm not scared by her.
Oh, well.
It's like,
I'm so sorry that I'm not a tough Australian man.
Nana's got out of the old folks' home again. Got to take her back home.
Once the crash stops, the car is really beaten up. So you get out to get some equipment as Laura. You have the option. What's that?
Laura.
Yeah. What did I say?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Lara.
It's the same name.
No.
Did I miss? Is that different?
Did you say Lara?
Laura?
Laura.
Laura.
Isn't
okay.
it?
Laura. I don't know. Potato
Wait
to me, man.
Wait a minute. Laura is Laura.
Okay. Yes. What is happening?
Is this a cultural thing?
No, it's probably a me thing. I got called out some years back for mispronouncing the name Megan as Megan, and somebody was like, "That's not my name. Don't call me Megan. It's Megan." I was like, "All right, Megan," and we went on to date for like 2 years. So, anyways, so once we stop, the car is beaten up. We have to get out as Laura, and we're going to get some tools for Max. We have the option to snoop through his stuff here, and if you do, you can learn that Max did not get into grad school. Mm-hmm. Why he's carrying around that rejection letter to bring to camp is just beyond me. That's something that I would have gotten rid of immediately.
And you need it for the story.
Yeah.
Character context.
Our little foray into the woods culminates in us seeing this spooky lady more and more. She's whispering the name Silas, and at one point she whispers it right into our ear. So we run back immediately. We're also going to see some posters here for something called Harem Scarum. It's like a little sideshow circus thing. This doesn't pay off until way later, but turns out it's very important. So you get back to Max, and you're both really shaken up, and you manage to get the car started.
I was thinking of a joke where it was like, it's actually a Turkish restaurant called Harem Scarum because there's like a harem of ladies. Anyway.
Ooh. Not long after you get your car started back up, a cop shows up, and it is Ted Raimi. I really like his performance throughout all of this. He's really good at being creepy.
Yeah, fully agree. He was really good, and I was like, he better not be the antagonist because I love Ted Raimi, and he better not die. But yeah, he was cool. I liked him, and I didn't want to be like antagonistic towards him because I like him so much as a actor that every time he made some sort of or any choice was available to respond to him, I responded as politely as I could because I was like, Mr. Ted Raimi, anything you say, Mr. Ted Raimi.
And throughout the whole game, anytime you interact with him as Laura, or Max, you can choose to be compliant or defiant. This playthrough, I tried to be as compliant as possible because it's actually really important later on. But anyway, he tells us, he asks us where we're going. We tell him, we're going to Hackett's Quarry. We just wanted to come up one day early. And he's making a big deal of that. He's like, it doesn't start till tomorrow. You shouldn't be here. Like, what are you up to? And we're like, no, we just thought we'd get here early to get settled in. And he's not having it. He says, you are going to the Harbinger Motel, actually. You're not going to Hackett's Quarry. And then he kind of winches our car and pulls us out of the woods and sends us on our way. At one point, he has Laura get out of the car to look at a map, and you can kind of trick him into showing you where the quarry is. You'll say okay, so we're here, and Harbinger Motel is here, and where's the quarry again? And he kind of shows you. But he sends you on your way, and of course, you're going to the camp. You're not going to go to a motel.
These bloody kids. Why can't they just follow the rules?
I was saying that during this next part. Because we get to the camp and it's totally empty. And Max is like, did you tell, Mr. Hackett that we were coming? And Laura's like, yeah, I called him. And he's like, did he answer? And she said, no, I left a voicemail. And that's when I was like, oh, these goddamn kids.
Who does that? God, I would have been like, fuck it. There's no one here. Let's go. But of course, they can't just go because there needs to be a reason for them to stick around and look in the basement.
Exactly. And yes, listeners listening right now, leaving a voicemail does not count as communication. Just in life in general, you can't do it.
Yeah. If the other person has not responded, it means that they haven't seen it. So don't just assume that your voicemail has been received.
Straight up. Like, this is good life advice.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely follow that. Just don't follow anything else we talk about, like, the left titties coming out in Snickers bars.
Depends. Do you want a successful relationship or not? Because if you do, get that left titty out when you can.
Hey, it's worked for me so far. I can tell you that. Speaking, you mentioned the basement. We're exploring a little bit since everything is dark, and we do see this little basement shelter. And Laura sees something down there. But we're peering through the cracks in the sort of outward swinging doors. We can't quite see. It's just someone is slumped over. Max is skeptical, so of course we're gonna go to look. And inside the basement, we find a bloody dog collar that says Ian. And almost immediately, something huge tackles Max, and he's bleeding really, really bad. You get an option here to either leave him or save him. I don't know who would choose to leave him. I saved him.
I saved him too.
Why wouldn't you? You're dating.
I mean, he is the guy from, what's his name? His name is Skylar Gizondo, and he is the guy from the Santa Clarita Diet. And he's also in Vacation, and he's a very funny actor. So I was like, that guy. Of course I'm going to save him. Let's go, buddy. And I tried to drag him out.
But it doesn't work. When you try to drag him out, he gets dragged back down the stairs. And almost immediately after that, you get stuck with a needle to the neck by the cop, by Ted Raimi. Mm-hmm. And this is where he yells what Dave said. Does this look like the Harbinger Motel to you?
Does this look like the goddamn Harbinger Motel to you?
It's framing him as a villain, from the start.
Yeah. And he just wasted a whole lot of really good quality heroin on her. So it's just such a shame.
Yeah, he's one of the few adults that does give out drugs on Halloween, your parents always warned you about. This scene ends here, and it cuts to the summer camp. We get our upbeat montage. We see all of the counselors waving goodbye to the kids as they leave. The summer's ending, and we get a sense of their personalities right away. Jacob is into Emma, and by the way, a lot of these are white people names, really, really generic names. So it's really easy to get them kind of mixed up. Jacob, he is the playful goofball jock. He's really into Emma.
He's hot.
He is, yeah. He's a good-looking guy. Mm-hmm. Brenda Song's character is Caitlin. She is a very independent, put-together person. The only one that's really an adult here.
Yeah. I think she was my favorite of them.
She's a great character. She's giving Jacob a bunch of shit about being into Emma. And we run into a few of the other campers here, too. We run into Dylan. He is the snarky gay character. We run into Nick. He is the Australian character. And we run into Ryan. He is the loner character, and my understanding is that neither of us liked his performance.
Yes. And here's why. Let me go first, please. The thing I really dislike about him is he reminds me specifically of a little boy dressing up in his dad's clothes, trying to be an adult, because the way that he talks is he's very intentionally trying to make his voice deeper. Yeah, my name is Ryan and I really like podcasts about supernatural stuff, but I'm cool and aloof. But he doesn't sound like that. If you watch him in Detective Pikachu, he has a fucking normal voice, but it's he's trying to drop his voice even more to sound tough or something, but it doesn't work. It just sounds fake, and I hate it.
It sounds fake, and he's deepening his voice, but it also sounds like he's chewing on Laffy Taffy all the time. He's got he doesn't really ever pronounce anything properly. He's whatever. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast down here. It's very weird. It's a weird choice, and I don't know. His character never worked for me because of that.
It's a very strange performance. I don't know why he would be directed to act like that.
I'm not sure either. Everybody, as we're meeting them, everybody's being really mean to each other in the way that teens are mean to each other. You know what I mean? If my friends treated me that way, I would be upset and probably very mad at them. But they're all just very cruel to each other. Caitlin is sort of goading Jacob into admitting that he's sad that his summer fling with Emma is over. You go into the lodge as Jacob, and you bring back all of the bags because you're loading up the minivan to get out of camp. And here, Jacob basically sets future future events into motion. He asks, hypothetically, how could we fuck up a car? Like, what could we do? And Caitlin just tells him, she's like, yeah, you could cut the fuel line or, take the rotor arm out. And Jacob's like, cool, I hope that doesn't happen. And then you immediately do that. Because he wants another night with Emma to like make her realize that they belong together.
It's kind of believable, but at the same time, I'm just like, man, you are so stupid. I hate you.
Yeah,
stupid
like,
idiot.
Real bonehead move. Real dumb move.
Which one did you pick? Did you cut the fuel line or steal the rotor thing?
I took the rotor arm because it seemed less permanent to me.
Same. I did the exact same thing. I actually watched what the option was for cutting the fuel line or whatever. And because to me, it sounded like cutting the fuel line, it would be too obvious that you've actually done something to it. But what actually happens is he like cuts it and then somebody tries to start the car and then it like basically gets set on fire. It looks like an accident. So I was like, I guess that works too.
Yeah, the end result is the same. Jacob is he's fucking around because he doesn't want his summer fling to end. And we're introduced to his summer fling shortly after. We're with Emma and Abby. Nothing too crazy happening here. Emma is the social media influencer. And quite frankly, she's like, they almost wrote her to be, quote, the bitch, end quote, character, almost. She's really mean. She's really cruel to Jacob in particular, I think. Yeah.
She has these weird moments where she is an absolute piece of shit, but then it almost like flicks over to being, I guess she's not that bad. But then she does something again, and you're just like, oh, God, I can't stand you, woman.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as Emily in Until Dawn. Like, they really lean into making her terrible. But Emma does have some redeeming qualities. She's just also very awful. And Abby is the artist. She is kind of aloof, quirky, in her own world kind of deal.
Yeah, played by Abigail Breslin from Modern Family.
I thought it was Ariel Winter that played her.
Fucking, yes, you're right. Played by Ariel Winter from Modern Family.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Abigail Breslin?
I genuinely not sure.
But I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
We learned some more gossip here. We learned that Abby really likes Nick, the Australian counselor, and both Dylan and Caitlin have crushes on Ryan. There's just will they, won't they throughout all of this.
Abigail Breslin is the girl from Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, perfect.
Who looks very similar to Ariel Winter. Anyway, I hate Nick, the Australian one, because he's a douchebag and he makes Australians look bad. And I hate the gay guy because he's not actually, I don't think he's gay. He's like both, bi, whatever.
I'm pretty sure Dylan is gay and Ryan is the one that's bi.
Oh, well, I just assumed both of them were sort of flexible, but he is, he's like a bitchy, he's a little bitch. He's a little snarky, little sarcastic bitch. And I don't like that because he kind of negs Ryan into like trying to get with him. And anyway, I hated his personality.
It's interesting. We learn later on that it's all just an act, and like he only acts that way because he thinks people like it. Really, he's like really into science. I don't know.
Yeah, he'll grow out of it.
Pretty soon, Chris Hackett, the owner of the camp, shows up. He and Ryan go into his office to sort of talk about life stuff. Ryan is really into Chris as a sort of father figure, mentor, and he's a good counselor, so Chris likes him too. Chris gets a phone call, and you have an option here. You can either listen to your podcast or you can eavesdrop. We didn't talk about the podcast. We didn't talk about the podcast. It's bad. It's not good. It's almost like they're trying to make fun of the true crime, genre, and they did a too good of a job almost. It's just very cringy to me.
You only really get to hear it at the end, don't you? Like in the credits. Are there any other instances where you can listen to it before that?
You can. There's a whole on the start screen. You can choose to just listen to the podcast.
Oh, ew.
Yeah, the Supermassive actually went and made several extra episodes to expand the lore of this game.
Ugh. Yeah, I listened to the one in the credits. Initially, the first playthrough I did, I skipped it because I was like, oh, yeah, these people suck. And then the next time I listened to it all the way through, and I was like, oh, this reminds me of several shows I know that I really don't like.
Yeah, it's not great. So I chose to eavesdrop because I didn't want to listen to that anymore. The end result is the same, though. I mean, you get information either way. You can hear Chris on the phone. He's getting yelled at because he's not getting the counselors out quick enough. He's taking too much time. The whole reason, by the way, that Ryan is up there is just for general life advice about, like, you know, college. I think we also learn here that the camp is struggling financially. I'm not sure. What we do definitely learn here is that there are two counselors, Caleb and Kaylee, and they left early. Like, they're already gone. They got out of there.
Oh, they didn't show up. They gave their notice like a day before that they weren't actually going to come, or at least that's the alibi that he says. And so because of that, all the other counselors had to pick up extra shifts doing different things because there were two people down.
I thought that was Max and Laura.
Oh, fuck. See, too many white people names. Who was... Caleb and
Kaylee,
yes.
Both Hackett, which is important.
Yes.
They left early. Laura and Max, they never made it.
Yes.
And we don't know why yet. This is also where we are introduced to the relationship meter. You know, anytime you make a choice here, you might get a little pop-up on the screen and it'll say, Chris trusts you, or Ryan didn't like that, or whatever. I don't really think these are too impactful to the story.
Yeah, I didn't notice a difference in my multiple
I really don't
playthroughs.
think so. Like, maybe a couple lines here or there, but like largely they don't really change anything.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I had something to say, but I forgot what it was. Oh, also, I think part of the reason why Ryan is in Chris's office in this instance is because he's being basically yelled at to stop telling so many ghost stories about the hag of Hackett's Quarry to the students or the campers.
Yes, good call. That is something that Chris wants him to stop doing because he's scaring too many of the kids, and we'll learn more about that ghost story as we go on. Yeah. Chris tries to load everybody into the van, and obviously it's not starting because Jacob fucked with it, and Chris is freaking out about it. He is really concerned that we're not going to get out of there. So he tells Ryan, okay, you guys can stay one more night. Everybody needs to stay in the lodge at all times. Like, do not leave, just stay in there. And of course, as soon as he leaves, Dylan says, well, it's time to throw a party. You know, last day. Woo! Party, rager. Because of course, they're teens. Teens are going to be teens. And as the scene ends, though, as they're, you know, talking about their party, we get a cutaway to these two hunters. There's an old guy looking at us through a sniper lens, and a big guy played by Ethan Suplee in overalls.
Who got really fit, by the way.
Yeah, dude, he's jacked in this.
Yeah.
He's built like a refrigerator.
I didn't recognize that he was the guy from My Name is Earl and all those other things where he's just plays like the tubby comedic character, but he is like, boom, he's big now, like muscular.
Yeah, he's intimidating. And they both look intimidating here because they smear blood on their faces and they put up a sign that says hunting season. This is going to be the first like major red herring. They're trying to convince us that these hunters are the bad guys, but as we'll see, that's not the case.
Yeah, and then they start making out.
Yeah, exactly. They do right here. And I should say we watched this Let's Play on Pornhub.com, so it's definitely legit.
Yeah, it wasn't a mod at all.
This is where this chapter ends, and we get an interstitial between each and every chapter, just like we did in Until Dawn. But instead of a psychologist, here we're with an old woman. We don't know her name yet, but she's a fortune teller. She's in like this dark room surrounded by bones and skulls, and there's a raven that's her pet. Just a real nefarious looking character.
Yeah, it's Nana in her old folks' home.
It is Nana. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah. Also, Chris Hackett is played by David Arquette, who everyone knows from Scream. But there's something really weird with his face in this game.
I've heard that said. I didn't notice it too much.
Really? Oh, because he has like
I could see what you're talking about. It's just it never jumped out at me.
oh, he has these really droopy eyelids, and when he acts, I don't mean specifically him, like the facial model of his character when he's speaking and stuff. It's almost like his eyes and his eyebrows never move. He just has like constant droopy face. Like he's got the upper half of his face has Bell's palsy and the bottom half doesn't. It's just this weird, like almost like he's had a stroke or something. It's very strange.
It's one of the struggles of this whole genre, honestly, is, you know, the conveying the facial animations. Yeah. I don't know. Back to the fortune teller, the purpose of these interstitials is when you find a tarot card, when you're just exploring in the game, you'll bring them back to her and she will kind of give you these very vague and veiled pieces of advice as they relate to the cards. Like if it's a lover, she'll, you know, give you advice that's kind of in a metaphor form about lovers, and it can be related to the characters. And it also shows you the what if little scene of bad stuff that might happen to you as the game goes on.
Yeah, I found those largely useless.
Yeah, yep. They're a little too short to really glean onto what's going on. So I never put a lot of thought into them.
Yeah, same. It's just cool. A nice little flourish of what may potentially happen. Does it help me? Absolutely not.
And we should say we're going to speed through the rest of these chapters quicker. There was just a lot of introducing to be done in this first one. But this leads us into chapter 2, which is Truth or Dare.
Mm-hmm. I will say they do a pretty decent setup of setting up all the characters and how they kind of fit into the story and how the story sort of jettisons from there. The next couple of chapters, it feels like a lot more setup that was kind of unnecessary. But yeah, as far as the first chapter goes, I thought it was pretty effective.
This opens, we get a lot of flavor text with Jacob and Emma here. And at one point, as the player, not the characters, we can see somebody watching us from the outside. Jacob and Emma, they've gone off to the staff room to look for party supplies. And we find our prize here, 1 12-pack of beer. I know these are just inexperienced kids, but like, there's like 6 or 7 of them. A 12-pack is not going to get anybody fun at a party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's more than just 1
12-pack
12-pack back there, but they only take 1 12-pack. And it's like, you're not going to get like 2 beers? Like 1 beer, 2 beers? Come on.
They're lightweights. We call them 1-can stands here in Australia.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I guess if they all are 1-can stands, then they're in for a great time.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? We also see in here some camping equipment that has been torn by something with claws and a gun, which we take. We also can find fireworks here. I think you can miss them, but I managed to find them. And of course, this is where we find our peanut butter pops.
Mm-hmm.
This part of the game has been memed into oblivion.
Is that a real thing or is it made up?
It's not real here.
Okay.
I think it's made up.
Okay. They probably couldn't pay an actual company to use the rights for their, I don't know, food or something.
I'm not even sure what it is, like cereal or maybe like a popcorn of some sort.
I don't know. I was more concerned with the fact that they were just like, hey, let's pick up a gun and let's take that.
Yeah.
That's not going to go badly at all, is it?
Yeah, there's no threat right now. They just decide to take a gun to a party that they're going to be drinking at underage. Uh-huh. What could go wrong? We cut back now to Ryan and Dylan. They're in Hackett's office. They're bantering here a little bit. This is where you get to choose how much of a flirt you want to be as Dylan. You can flirt with Ryan throughout the entire game. Dylan is really into Ryan. Ryan, it's like unclear. He's kind of into Dylan, it seems like, but also kind of into another character later. It's unclear with him because also all of his responses are like, "Oh, that was very funny of you to say." It's like, all right, dude, whatever.
Yeah, it sounds good, but have you listened to this podcast?
Bizarre yet bona fide. Yeah, it's
about the heck of Hackett's Quarry.
We can find a trap door here in Hackett's office, like in the floor. Whether or not you decide to explore it is going to be one of those path chosen choices. And it turns out to be an important one. What did you do?
I actually didn't go down. I thought, oh, there's probably a monster down there. Let's not go down. And this was before the mystery had been sort of revealed. I was like, something's in the basement. If I go down there, I'll probably die. So let's try and keep this guy alive. And I decided not to go down.
Yeah, I also did not. And it turns out that is right now, that's the better choice.
Yeah.
This is also, I think, the first time we're explicitly told that Max and Laura did not show up. They were the two counselors that no-showed and gave everybody else extra work.
Yep. Not to be confused with Caleb and Kaylee.
Yes. We also find another secret room here before we leave to go to the campfire. This room is full of surveillance equipment with like trail cams and stuff like that. It's very obvious in retrospect, but they're kind of setting up this creepy vibe between the Hacketts and the Hunters as a distraction. It's a red herring to us.
It annoyed me so much how heavily Dylan tried to be like, "Oh, this is psycho. Oh, Chris is a psycho. He's got security cameras." I'm like, yeah, for security, I have a security camera faced at my front door because if somebody breaks into my place, I want to make sure I record them so I can give it to the police. That's what security cameras are for.
Yeah, it's really not as big of a deal as he was making it out to be. Like, it's pretty normal. It's weird that it's in a secret room, but otherwise it's pretty normal.
I wish I had a secret room. I think they're cool. And when I was a kid, I was always like, I want a bookshelf that opens up into a door and then it goes into a secret room. That's the best thing ever. So he's just living the dream. That's all he is. That's all he's doing. Chris is just living the dream.
Yeah, I think they'd call it a nightmare, but I think we'll get there. We get a little interstitial here of Nick and Abby. It's really just them kind of building their will they, won't they. They're in the woods. You can choose to, kiss. You can choose to not. That's kind of immaterial. A wild boar attacks here. One of its little piglets comes up and you can like do a little pet. And then the mom comes and kind of attacks you. I failed it. And, or I don't know if failing is the right word, but, it attacked me, and then Nick goes, "Oh, I've been slimed."
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? Hog slime? What is a hog sliming me for? Like, what is that? Did it
I don't know.
Pee on him? I don't know.
I think it's just like the saliva. It licked him or something. I don't know. Or maybe he, in fright, made a mess in his pants, and that's where the slime comes in.
See, this is why we need guns in America everywhere. Because of the feral hogs. The 30 to 50 feral hogs. It's my favorite Twitter joke.
And you also need them to be party entertainment. How could that go wrong, possibly?
Speaking of the gun at camp, we are going back there. Now everybody's there. Caitlin, Dylan, Ryan, Nick, Abby, Emma, and Jacob. The whole gang. Nick and Jacob have a little chest thumping competition here because they both want to eat the peanut butter pops. And they decide the best way to decide who gets this bag of children's snack food is to shoot a shotgun. Because what could go wrong?
Kids these days, let me tell you.
It's a funny little scene. Like it's humorous. Terrible gun form. Jacob picks up the shotgun and immediately just starts sweeping it all around and pointing it at people. Like, I'm surprised that he didn't shoot anybody, to be quite honest.
That's like the scariest part in the game to me.
Actually though, that's super irresponsible. He can't shoot anything anyway. He's a terrible shot. You can control Nick here. You can shoot the bottles. It really doesn't matter because Caitlin ultimately comes in. She's like, "Look, you guys are being children. This is a fucking weapon. Grow up." Then she takes the gun and shoots everything like square on. Like, she's the best shot there. Hashtag girl boss. That's basically her character here.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's truth or dare time. Finally, I as a 30-year-old man can relive the truth or dare days. You get some mild agency as to who you choose and ask, but ultimately it winds up with Caitlin daring Emma to kiss either Jacob or Nick. This immediately, as soon as Dylan suggests playing truth or dare, Caitlin's like, "Oh, can we dare people to kiss people?" And he's like, "Well, that's the whole reason I wanted to do this, because he wants to kiss Ryan." But Emma decides to kiss Nick. Horrible. She's being really horrible to Jacob by using Nick to make Jacob jealous, which also makes Abby really upset because she likes Nick. I hope you're all keeping a flowchart out there of like who likes who and who is who, because it doesn't get any simpler.
They're all paired off. I think this is also the opportunity where you can pick if you want Ryan to be a homo or a nomo. Straighty.
Man, I know you can say that, but can I have that on this show?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have the choice with Ryan if you want to have him kiss Dylan or Caitlin. So I assume, I mean, I picked him to kiss Dylan every single time, but I assume that this is...
I did not get this option.
Did you not?
No.
Oh, well...
I picked truth for everything, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Well, in my game, Ryan was asked to kiss either Dylan or Caitlin, and I picked Dylan. So he kissed Dylan, and the next time I played it, I did the exact same thing. But he had the option to kiss Caitlin as well if he wanted to. I was like, yeah, nah, that's not going to happen. So I legit, like, in stone, made him kiss a boy. And it was funny. But, you know, it was very short-lived. It's like, yeah, I still hate Dylan, but at least he got a kiss before things happened to him later on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting. I didn't know that could happen.
Oh, okay.
In my playthrough, they basically, I think Ryan asked Caitlin what she wanted to be when she grows up. She says, like, a street performer.
What?
It's just really basic stuff like that.
Weird, okay.
But after Emma kisses Nick, Jacob gets fucking pissed, and he basically threatens to beat the shit out of Nick before he runs off. Nick goes to look for Abby because that upset Abby a lot. And the whole situation is just a mess because Emma is awful.
Yeah.
This is where the night concludes. We do get another little snippet of the hunters watching us from the bushes. I think they're like... I think Ethan Suppley says, like, oh, this is bullshit. But yeah, this night ends here, and it puts us into Chapter 3, Trouble in Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
We start as Abby here. She's cooling off in the woods. We start to hear the whispers here. She's wandering around, and we hear that old hag lady whispering. Eventually, Nick does find you, though. Throughout this whole sequence, we get, like, cuts to a POV that seems to be some kind of a creature or an animal of some sort. We'll find out pretty quickly what that is. But otherwise, you just continue to get more opportunities to choose how flirty you want to be with each other. I intentionally just like missed all of these. I wanted to see what happened if these kids never got what they wanted.
Nice.
They just kind of awkwardly hem and haw and, talk and all that shit. But
yeah, I got to say, Abby and Nick were my least favorite pair. I was like, I do not want either of these people to be together. They can just... every time they were on screen together, I'm like, fucking whatever. I'll just pick whatever antagonistic response I could find because I don't want either of them to care about each other, and this is a waste of time. So
yeah, they don't really have a ton of chemistry.
No, not at all.
They're just both polite. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
We start to hear growls, though, and Nick and Abby just decide, like, we got to get out of here. Surprise, it's some kind of an animal. It's like humanoid, but it's elongated. It doesn't have fur, but it's kind of like got spots, tufts of hair, and wolf jaws. It looks terrifying, and Nick gets bitten here. There's no way around that. He gets attacked and bit.
Good.
You can choose to abandon him or help him. I choose to run away. I actually played this scene very wild. I abandoned Nick and hid in a log. I failed a QTE on purpose, somehow escaped the log despite like screaming and wailing and just walking out of it. Climbed a tree, fell out of the tree, and then got bit as Abby.
Oh my god, okay, that did not happen with me. I tried to save him. We managed to hide from it. God, my memory is a little phasey. My memory is a little fuzzy about the first time I played it, but I do believe a hunter stepped in and sort of saved the day or allowed us to get away. And so Nick was bitten, Abby was fine.
I'm actually, now that you say that, I'm not sure if my Abby did get bit or not, because she never was in danger of turning. Maybe the hunter did shoot the thing away.
Maybe. I don't know if I ever played a version where she got bit.
I'm not sure. But either way, Abby does get away. But Nick is still, in trouble. But we don't know what happens. We cut to Jacob. He's sitting on the dock, sort of skipping rocks, and he's crying. He's a sensitive little boy, despite being like a goofy jock. Emma comes, she finds him, and the two of them talk. She is being just horrible to him here. Like, she's kind of taunting him for like having feelings. Like, Jacob can't articulate that he's got feelings, but like, he's clearly broken up about it. And Emma's like, oh, don't be such a baby. At one point, Jacob says like, you just really love having an audience, huh? And in my notes, just all caps, I was like, good for you, King. Like, nice clap back. She's so awful. I have to root against her. She's terrible.
Yeah, I was kind of on Emma's side at this point.
Oh my God. Why? She's so mean.
Because, yeah, I know she's mean, but at the same time, you got to, like, in my perspective, I'm like, this guy is in love with me, who I don't like back, who is getting all puppy dog about it, and obviously she shouldn't have kissed Nick because that was just intentionally malicious and doing it to be a bitch. But at the same time, it's kind of like, maybe she kissed Nick in order to have Jacob get over her because she doesn't want to have to lead him on anymore, and he won't accept no for an answer, and it's time he grew up and accepted the fact that she doesn't want to be with him. So I can kind of give it a little bit of a benefit of the doubt.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not going to extend her that courtesy.
Okay.
No way. I mean, look, these are two teens at a lake in a horror movie, so we know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Emma is like, well, summer's not over yet, big boy, and then she's like, let's skinny dip in the lake.
Okay, I take back everything I just said because then that's mixed signals.
Yeah, extremely mixed signals. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she's like, summer's not over yet, right? We still have one more night. Let's fuck. Well, she doesn't say that, but like it's implied. We also get a brief POV of the camera underwater here, and we see a corpse.
Yeah,
that'll become important. But Abby is heard screaming here, and we're like, well, what do we do? We got to go. Turns out, yeah, the van that we fucked with, the rotor arm, in our case, the rotor arm, must have fallen into the lake somehow. I don't really know how because Jacob stripped down to his drawers. I don't know where he was storing that rotor arm, but it's in the ocean now, in the lake. And we can either dive in to get it or go look for Abby. I dove for it. I went into the water.
Yeah, I did too.
Yep. I think you might be able to drown here because there are several QTEs to get out of this like razor wire trap, but Jacob does see the corpse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually can, but I know a lot of people miss this because they choose to do the snap the fuel line or whatever instead, so they just don't get this option at all, which is really interesting. But yeah, I definitely dove down for it. I definitely got stuck, but I managed to free myself, so I didn't drown. I managed to free Jacob. I am not Jacob. I'm a much better person than Jacob.
Yes, agreed.
I'm more of an Emma. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely not. Abby's scream is also heard at the campfire with Caitlin, Ryan, and Dylan. And she actually runs up, Abby does. And Caitlin ultimately sends Ryan out with the gun to help Nick. I don't know why, because Caitlin is clearly the best with that gun. But you can ask her to go instead, like instead of you. She'll lose respect for you if you do that. Or at least that's what the game tells you. Whatever.
I don't understand how they're friends anyway. They shouldn't be friends.
At one point, Dylan refers to all of them as work friends, and I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, like they actually kind of are. Like they're not really friends, they're just coworkers.
I was going to mention that earlier. I like the fact that they're all just random people from across the country. They're not actually, except for Caitlin and Jacob, they don't know each other outside of this. So it's just a forced friendship.
Yeah. It's, what a dynamic, man.
Yeah.
Ryan does find Nick after a while out there. The stronger of the two hillbilly hunters, the guy in the overalls, Ethan Suppley, he's dragging him off. So right now, for all we know, these hunters are the bad guys. You can choose to shoot him or not. This time I purposefully missed him. And what ends up happening is Nick bites the hunter's fingers, which prompts him to pull out a pistol and shoot his fingers off completely and just walk away.
That's funny. I did the exact same thing, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Wasn't expecting anyone else to pick that option. But yeah, he shot his own fingers off. So throughout the rest of the game, he was missing fingers.
Yeah, it's a really cool touch. In retrospect, again, like, really not being subtle about what's going on here. But at the time, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Nick is extremely wounded, so you take him back to camp as Ryan. That cuts, and then you're back to Jacob. You're running through your underwear through the forest looking for Abby. The monster is out there too. We don't know what it is just yet. We basically know what it is, but we technically don't. Before you know it, though, you get hooked up into a trap. You step into a little rope. It hangs you up by the ankle like an Acme cartoon, like Bugs Bunny. And the big guy finds you. You can try to threaten him, even though you are literally hanging upside down in your underwear, or you could ask him, please let me down. It fakes you out for a minute. You're not sure if he's gonna kill you, but he does cut the rope with a knife. Did I say that weird? He does cut the rope with a knife, and while you're on the ground, he tells you to be quiet, and he pours this blood all over you. He's like, it's for your own good. It's going to taste like shit, but this is for your own good. And as he leaves, he says, "Where are you off to now, girly?" I actually love this in retrospect because now I know who he's talking about. But at the time, we thought that he meant Abby. We just think that he's hunting us. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I like it too. I have nothing more to add, but I agree. Although I actually did think he was talking to Jacob. Then I realized, wait a minute, why would he say that with his back turn?
This brings us into chapter 4, Don't Panic. And I have some typos here that's making this difficult to read what I meant. Abby is here explaining what happened to Caitlin while Ryan and Dylan tend to Nick. Is that right?
Yes, I think they're in the infirmary thing at the lodge.
Oh, okay. I just misunderstood what I wrote. They don't believe it was a monster. Ryan only saw the big hunter guy. So, when you're explaining what happened, they're like, it's definitely not a bear. There aren't bears out here. Bears aren't that fast. Like they're saying all this stuff. They believe it was just the weird hunters. And at this point, there's something rustling in the bushes, and it happens twice. And both times, as Ryan, you will get to point your gun that's got like that flashlight mounted on it, like guns do. You get to point it at the bushes to investigate, and it'll give you the option to shoot. You don't have to, but you can. What ends up happening here is it's Jacob. He's in the bushes, and if you don't shoot, either time, Jacob comes running back out. He's still naked. He's still bloody. He tells his version of what happened, about seeing a body in the lake, about, the hunter cutting him down. Everybody is on edge and confused. Something that I found out by looking it up is if you shoot on the second time that the bushes rustle, Ryan will have killed Jacob. Oh. And he's dead for the rest of the game.
Oh, I should have picked that option.
I wanted to go back and try it that way. Spoiler alert, my Jacob actually did end up dying anyway.
Oh, okay.
Which is unfortunate. That doesn't happen for a while. In a moment of lucidity, Jacob realizes that he just left Emma back at the lake. So he's like, I got to go, save her. He has a little bit of a chest thumping with Ryan because he's trying to take the gun, and Caitlin has to break them up because, again, she's the adult. Mm-hmm. They keep the gun, and Jacob runs off to find Emma, who we now take control of.
I don't know why he bothered, to be honest. He should have just been like, she's probably fine.
I can see why, with the hunters about, I get it.
Yeah, but he's thinking with his downstairs brain. He needs to just trust that she'll be fine.
Yeah, maybe in retrospect, I'm thinking too much about the monster.
Yeah.
But, yeah. As Emma, you're walking through the forest of the island making like a vlog. It's like a combination of like early 20-year-old life reflections at Denny's and like hamming it up for her followers.
Yeah, I actually really like this part. This is when I started to like her more.
Oh, that was the opposite for me. I didn't like her at all here.
I was like,
I guess you can also choose to be like really vindictive about it, like really bitch about Jacob, or you could choose to like kind of be more of an adult and be like, well, his feelings are valid too.
Yeah, I think that's what I picked. I played most of mine to be as good of people as they could be. But having said that, I mean, they're already some pretty shit people, so some of them are kind of irredeemable, I think. But at this one, I started to like her a bit more.
As you're walking through, you get to explore a little bit. You're doing your vlog stuff. You eventually find your way up to a treehouse, and we go up. And inside, we find somebody's belongings, and we find a trap door. It's like a latch door that's in the roof with a ladder leading up to it, and it is like rustling. Something is moving it on the other side. And Emma has this quote. She'll say, "Do we snoop through someone else's belongings, or do we open the spooky trap door and die a horrible, painful death?" Which is really on the nose, because if you choose to open the trap door, one of the monsters comes down and you get killed immediately.
Is that what you did?
No, I went through the belongings.
Okay.
It's kind of funny, though, because you go through the belongings, you get some bear mace, you get a taser, and some clothes in there to change into. Because still, remember, you're still in your bra and underwear from swimming. After you do that, though, you open the trapdoor anyway. So, boom, down comes the monster. And this is the first time we get a really good look at it. So, what did you think of this monster's design?
I thought it was very reminiscent of the monsters in Until Dawn, which I quite liked. Very obviously different, but the similarities between them I thought was a really good touch. And overall, I think I like them. When you find out what they actually are, they don't quite fit what I imagined that particular monster to be when they say the word.
I think we can just say it now. They're werewolves. That's
you spoiled it.
I mean, they're pretty on the nose with a lot of this stuff here, like with the moon and with the the dog collars, and I don't know. But
but the dog collar was an actual dog that got killed and eaten.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, so the werewolves, they're not what I expect a werewolf to look like, but I actually really like this interpretation of it.
Yeah, they're hairless. Like they don't have like a coat of fur. They don't have dog ears. They've got these like the skin looks not burnt, but like it does look scarred over. It looks very taut against all the muscles and bones. And the eyes are like perfectly circular, bright yellow, no eyelids, just planted onto the front of the face. It looks very creepy.
Yeah, they almost look Sphinx-like. Almost.
Yeah, kind of. I could see that.
Anyway, these aren't the sexy werewolves you find in True Blood. These are the grotesque werewolves that nobody wants to bang, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nobody is wanting to bang these werewolves.
Yeah.
I think whether you like the game or not, we can all agree nobody wants to fuck this werewolf.
Not in werewolf form, anyway.
Right. Well, yes, they are people whenever they're not... You fuck them before the werewolf transformation.
What you're in. It's a bit messy that way, though.
You got to run away. There are several this or that choices and QTEs while you're running. I ended up getting away here.
I think I did too. I had her get infected, but I can't for the life of me remember if it was this part specifically, or if it was another shorter interaction a little bit later on the track.
Okay. Interesting. I think my Emma got away unscathed. And more on that in just a second. The rest of the gang gets to the cabin. Nick is just talking about how hungry he is. He's still like mortally wounded. Ryan and Dylan, they're going to go off to the radio tower to try and call for help. I'm not going to read what I wrote here because I remember playing this section. I was not sober, and I had mean things to say about Ryan, and I'm just going to skip them.
Wait.
So we get a quick scene here of Emma ziplining off of the treehouse. This is an important part of this section because if Emma makes it out of here, she is confirmed to live for the rest of the game. This is the first character that we can secure their life.
Oh, not quite.
Yeah.
No. She can die later on.
Not Emma.
Yeah.
How?
I'm almost
positive. I'm almost positive this is that's what the wiki said.
Oh no. There's a part where if she gets turned, which is what happened to me, she transforms within a car, and then somebody else can open that car door, have her jump out as a werewolf, and then somebody else can shoot her with a silver bullet and kill her.
Oh, okay. So I think what the wiki meant is that if you get out of this island unscathed as Emma and not bit, then Emma is 100% safe. She can't die if she didn't get bit.
Okay,
I think
gotcha.
that must be what that meant.
All right.
I've never seen that transformation though. That sounds cool.
That's what happened to me. So we'll get there when we get there.
Nice.
But yeah.
This is the last of this chapter though. We get into chapter 5 now. White Noise.
Her beauty is a tiger. Be careful, make sure that she doesn't bite. Her beauty is inside her. That's why I need to find the key tonight. That's why I need to find the key tonight. Won't you help me find the key tonight? I say yes.
We're cruising through, or at least I'm trying to. We're back at the lodge as Caitlin, leaving Nick and Abby to themselves as we investigate some footsteps that we heard on the roof. This is pretty brief. The big hunter, who we learned via a walkie-talkie, is named Bobby. He is in the lodge. He is specifically looking for us to blood them, whatever that. We don't know what that means right now. In my playthrough, he caught me and took my gun. I was able to run away, but he did catch me. Did he?
Yeah.
Did he catch you?
Yeah, as Caitlin, he did the exact same thing to me. Took the gun, but she got out of there. That was basically actually, I think he tried to throw blood at her, and it ended up getting on her in my game.
Okay, I dodged it because I think you get a quick time event. You can dodge it, or you can get hit with the blood. I missed it, but he still took the gun, and we got away though.
Yeah, I think I got blooded, but I'm pretty sure she washes it off later on anyway.
This brings us back to Abby and Nick. Nick is being way more forward and aggressive when he's speaking with Abby, which becomes important pretty soon. Caitlin makes her way back, and it turns out Bobby is not far behind, so you can choose to either run or hide. Here, I chose all of us to hide, and then we managed to escape out of the window.
I think I did the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know what happens if you choose to run. I genuinely have never done that.
I assume it's probably the same result, which is sometimes one of the criticisms I have with these type of games is despite what choice you're given, the outcome is going to remain the same anyway.
Okay. I don't know if it doesn't bother me all the time. I mean, if it was every choice, it didn't matter. Yeah, that would kind of be a bummer.
Yeah.
Where are we at here? We're going back to Dylan and Ryan now. They're heading to the radio hut because they want to call for help. Phone lines are down because this is a horror movie. This is also where we learn about Dylan's whole persona. Like, he just acts like the sassy gay guy because, like the sassy gay cliche, I should say, because like people like it. They think he's funny, and he's kind of insecure, and he just wants to be liked, you know. And this is just more character building between the two of them.
I hate him.
I don't get it, man. I don't hate him. Like, he's kind of annoying, but I don't hate him.
I hate him. He's annoying. Probably because I can kind of relate to it to a degree. Stop reminding me of my past.
Okay. Fair. We get into the radio hut and we make a broadcast. Dylan was the camp broadcaster. Like, he read the announcements and did the morning calls and everything. He's terrible at it here. It sounds like a prank. He's like talking about swarm of bears and there's a good quote here. Like, he's radioing out about a swarm of bears and et cetera.
So what should I say?
Just like make it sound urgent.
Okay. how's it going out there? This is, we need help. This is, we are counselors at Hackett's Quarry summer camp, and there's been a horrible accident, attack, some stuff bad here. We need your help. There is a swarm of bears, and they are everywhere, and there's these hunters too, and they seem to be shooting at the bears, but also at us, which is not good, and a few of our friends are hurt, and we are in desperate need of help, so please, there's vicious bears, and we don't know what to do, so please come help us. SOS, this is an emergency. Save our ship. Come on down, please help us. Did I do good? Was that?
Swarm of bears?
Yeah.
Herd of bears.
Yeah, I've heard of bears, but...
Oh my god.
And that just, I laughed so hard. It's so stupid. I thought it was so funny.
Nice. I didn't respond to that at all.
It turns out when we made that radio broadcast asking for help, the only people that heard it were the hunters. So now they know exactly where we are. So that's not good. But we also see the werewolf outside, a werewolf outside. It's pretty funny. We open the door to leave. It's right there. It doesn't see us, but then we immediately shut it. It's like a fucking Scooby-Doo cartoon.
Yeah.
From where we are, we can also see Caitlin, Abby, and Nick walking up to the cabins. So Ryan gets onto the PA and says, get into the nearest cabin you can right now. And this is where things can go pretty differently. First, you can choose to try and kill the monster or scare it off with a feedback loop over the PA. I chose the latter because I didn't think that any of us could actually kill the thing. I decided to keep Dylan calm as he tried to create the feedback loop. The werewolf at some point disconnects the PA wire, like it breaks the wire, and Dylan is calm here, so he reaches up to fix it and gets bitten, like the werewolf grabs him right through the roof and bites him, right on his arm. And immediately, this is like comically fast, immediately Nick is just like, not Nick, Dylan is like, oh, you got to amputate it, like right now. Like it's been 2 seconds, man. And you get to choose between the chainsaw or the shotgun. So I just said fuck it and shot his whole hand off.
I did the exact same thing.
This is, it turns out that's the right thing to do here. We don't know it yet, but if you, you can shoot his hand off. If you choose not to amputate, it apparently guarantees his survival. I don't know how that's possible, but that is what the wiki told me.
Weird. Maybe he transforms and then there's no opportunity to put him down as a werewolf, so he will survive towards the end no matter what.
That's what I was thinking too. Because Dylan didn't die for me. I mean, he had multiple chances to, but he didn't die. But yeah, we shot his fucking hand off.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same. He made a lot of jokes about his stump and stuff, which I thought was pretty funny. So I can respect a man who jokes about his stump, sees the light in certain situations, whatever.
I've seen your texts. I know what you mean.
Good.
Good pull. With the werewolf gone, you go out and meet up with everybody outside. But before we can really talk about anything, we hear gunshots. A blonde 20-something-year-old woman with an eye patch is seen running by with a gun. We don't know who this is, so we run up to figure out what the fuck's going on. When we catch up, she is gone, but there is a dead body that's found floating in the pool. This is how the chapter ends. Whoever that blonde woman is, she just shot somebody dead, and here they lie in the pool.
I like the ending of this chapter. It's a very good cliffhanger to the next chapter.
I had no idea what was going to happen after this. I was all in.
Yeah, same. This is when it really, really grabbed me, because the first couple of chapters, it's a really solid setup, but then the next 3 chapters, I'm like, all right, come on, guys, let's get something actually happening here. Let's get a good hook. And then finally, right at this moment, I was like, fuck, yes, let's go. I want to see this through to the end now.
Yeah, and in retrospect, it's cool that we find out what exactly is going on here, because it's not at all what I was expecting, at least on my first playthrough.
So when you explain what it is, can we then double back and you tell me what you thought it was going to be?
I mean, I could tell you right now, I didn't have any guesses as to what this was. I didn't put two and two together as to who the blonde-haired woman could have been. And I didn't know who was floating dead in the pool because it wasn't one of our characters. So I just had no idea what was going on.
Oh, see, I thought you meant the mystery of what the monsters were and stuff. Because, like, did you have theories?
No. I mean, I pretty much as soon as I saw one and, like, you know, the full moon and everything, I knew it was werewolves.
Yeah. Yeah, same. There was no mystery. I was like, yeah, it's going to be werewolves. And I'm totally down for it.
Even pretty early on, like when one of the hunters catches you, when the hunters catch you and they don't kill you, like with Jacob, like immediately it was like, okay, these aren't the bad guys. Maybe they're hunting the monsters. What could they possibly be hunting? We're in the woods. There's full moon in the woods. It's got to be werewolves, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit too obvious, but that's okay. At this point, too, I was like, ooh, a werewolf's just been killed, but who is it? Who's this character? So it was a really cool stopping point. And yeah, I kind of already knew who the girl would be, but I was expecting this particular character to be gone for the rest of the story. So them coming back was very interesting.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. I think most people were probably like me and just not expecting it at all. I want to get us through some more of this. We get into chapter 6, Prayers at Night. We're back to Jacob, looking for Emma in the woods near the treehouse area. We do find her, and she confirms whatever attacked her, it was not a bear. It was, what does she say? Something out of a horror movie. And everybody points at the screen like the Leonardo DiCaprio gif. You can be apologetic or defensive here. The two start fighting. Emma's really mean, but there's no time. Like, there's no time for the two of them to fight because we hear the growling again and we make a run for it. It's funny, during the chase, we never see the monster. And the reason is because the monster ambushes us, like, as we're running. And there's a part here that I don't know if it's supposed to be funny, but Jacob just knocks Emma off of the walkway and she falls like 6 or 7 feet down into the woods.
Yep.
And all he does is yell, "Sorry," and then he runs away.
Yep, I had that same moment.
It's so dumb, but oh man, it's funny. Now, I don't know what happens here. You get the choice to run or hide, and I chose to run, which gets you caught in a bear trap.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
That's what you did? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, horrible. The older hunter approaches us. I don't know. I had subtitles on, so it just told me their names. His name is Jedediah. Mm-hmm. I wrote as Jebediah in the notes, but he comes up and you think he's going to help you, but instead he just knocks you out with the butt of his gun. You're fucked, dude. Like, you got knocked out and you're in a bear trap. This is horrible for Jacob.
I can't imagine how excruciating a bear trap would actually be, but yeah.
Especially where it gets you like right on the ankle.
Yeah, it can break your leg and actually snap that bone. So yeah, poor Jacob, but
oh God.
Should watch where you're walking.
Well, that's the funny thing too, is like it'll show you how many bear traps were around him and they were just everywhere, but he still doesn't notice them and steps right into one.
I know. I mean, I don't want to be a victim blamer, but you could use your eyes.
This takes us, after Jacob gets knocked out, we go back to the gang at the pool. This is where Ryan drops a bombshell. He knows who the dead body is. It's Kaylee Hackett. She is one of the counselors that left early. And everybody is freaking out except for Nick. When we first saw the dead body, like Abby ran to Nick and they like hugged because she was freaked out. And here Nick is like really hugging her really hard and he's saying like, "Oh, you smell so good. I want to taste you," except he says it Australian, so he's like, "You smell so good. I want to taste you." Nor
bloody
things
want to
like
taste you so good. Oh yeah.
It's incredible. I didn't make a single Australian joke until just now.
I want to taste you like a nice cold can of Victorian bitter.
What is Victorian bitter?
It's a beer.
Okay. Yeah.
VB.
I only know Foster's. How do you guys feel about Foster's?
Foster's is not as Australian as people think it is. I think it's just because it's like the internationally recognized Australian beer, but we don't drink it.
It's also shit.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you. We drink like VB and Carlton Draft. That's the Aussie beers. But yeah.
Maybe one day I'll try it. I can't find that shit here, probably.
Yeah, don't bother. It's fine. I don't really condone drinking that much anyway.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big drinker.
So you can, I mean, again, you get to kind of choose how this goes. In my playthrough, Abby kind of struggled with Nick. She can't force him off because, like, he's getting stronger. It's sort of implied here. But we do push him off and into the pool, and he just starts writhing in pain before, like, being helped out. So we don't know what's going on.
Exact same thing happened to me too.
Man, this is crazy. A lot of our playthrough has been pretty similar.
It's going to change real quick, I can guarantee you.
You take him and everybody else into the bathhouse because you got to figure out what's going on. Between the water, is it not? What did I mispronounce now?
No, nothing. I just thought like it was a changing room or a locker room or something. When you say bathhouse, I think of like a sauna or something.
What do you want from me, man?
Nothing. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It's like, oh, we're
Laura,
going into the onset.
Bathhouse.
Please continue. Continue being American.
God damn it, that's my right. Fuck yeah.
Second Amendment. Fuck yeah.
Between the water and Nick not wanting to show anybody his wounds, like everybody's suspicious. They're like, maybe it's rabies, but like, you know, that's more drinking water. Like nobody knows what's going on. I decided to go for chaos here. Nick and Abby get a moment to talk, and I had Abby tell Nick to fuck off, basically. And he gets really mean. Like he's like, "Oh yeah, you were just easy pickings because you were like so insecure. Poor clueless little Abby." It's wild, but in an instant, he just like grabs her with one hand and fucking yeets her across the room, like comically hard. And this is where like the transformation has begun here. And you get an option here as Abby. You get to pick up a gun, and you can either shoot him or not. He's just standing there for right now. Mm-hmm. I shot him. Did you?
Okay. I did not shoot him.
But I think the outcome is the same either way.
Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, it's not?
No. Go tell us what you did or what happened to you.
Okay. So if you shoot him, he writhes in pain for a minute, and then we see the werewolf transformation. It's not what you're thinking. His whole body just explodes. You know, it's like somebody put a Hot Pocket into like a crazy powerful oven and the insides just explode out. It's like that. It's so funny. But it's really funny. But after his body explodes, the werewolf is there, and instead of attacking anybody, it just runs out the window.
Yeah. Okay. So that sort of happened, except I chose not to shoot him because I thought, oh, I don't want to kill this character. I want to get everybody to survive. So instead of shooting him, he just explodes anyway, but because he hasn't been wounded, he now runs up to Abby and rips her head off, and she dies for the entire game. She's gone.
Oh, shit.
So that was my first casualty. Abby is now dead. Rest in peace, Abigail Breslin and or Ariel Winter.
Oh, man, that's wild.
Yeah. So R.I.P. Abby, she is now dead. And everyone's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, rightfully so. Holy shit. After that, you cut back to Emma. She has made it back to the campfire, and she's looking for us, so she goes to the lodge. And on the way, we get several POVs from the werewolf's perspective. We don't technically know that there are more than one. I mean, I guess we do now that Nick has transformed, but we don't know how many there are. And we could see it in the background as the player too, like scurrying around on the rocks. Eventually, Emma comes across Bobby and Jedediah, and they've caught a werewolf in their trap. It's like hung up by its leg, like Jacob was, and another werewolf still is watching us. What ended up happening to me was I got caught by the hunters. They inspect you for bites, and they see that you're clean, or at least I was clean. And Emma basically says "fuck off," and runs away. I found the last firecracker at the campfire that we took from the office when we were grabbing our 12-pack of party beer. And I lit it, threw it at it. It explodes right in his ear, which Oh God, that would be so painful. But anyways, you escape the hunters is what I'm trying to say.
Interesting. I don't think I had the firecrackers, but she still managed to escape them anyway in my playthrough.
just without fucking that man's ear for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Poor Jedediah has more problems coming up, let alone some firecrackers, don't you worry.
Oh, he's got many problems. We are all fucked in this situation. The lodge is empty, obviously, and for whatever reason, Emma gets into the van, the one that doesn't work. I still don't know why she did this. The scene ends with everybody at the bathhouse, the sauna, you know the sauna, and
the onsen.
There's a knock at the door, and somebody outside says they're looking for Chris Hackett, and she tells us who she is. It's Laura Kearney. It's the girl from the beginning. So we let her in, and that's how the chapter ends.
Yeah.
Well, it continues directly, but it transitions into chapter 7, The Past Behind Us.
I love the scene, too, where they just open the door and she's standing there with like a fucking eye patch, and you can tell her face has been clawed up, so you're like, oh, this girl has seen some shit. But I 100% thought that her and Max had been killed in the intro because, like, horror movie cliche where you have to start the horror movie with victims and then it continues on to the main characters. So I wasn't expecting them to return at all, which is really cool.
I wasn't expecting Max to return. I kind of thought Laura might, but like just seeing Max get, mauled, I thought he was done.
Yeah, I thought he was dead for sure.
So Laura's about to tell everybody what happened. This is a long playable flashback, and it picks up right after her and Max were captured by Ted Raimi, the cop. They're both in separate cells in a police station, and as the cop is leaving, he says things are going to get messy. And that's true. The camera moves to the outside of Max's cell. We can't see Max, but we hear a pop and we see blood shoot out of his cell. We know what that means now. He's turned into a werewolf. Laura doesn't know that. Laura doesn't know that yet. And she passes out. It's never going to get old. We're just going to keep going. I'm going to make the same joke fucking 100 times.
It's fine. Just do whatever feels good for you. I don't care how you pronounce it anymore.
When Laura comes to, she is handcuffed to a chair in an office with the cop sitting right in front of her. She's she's asking what's going on, and Ted Raimi has one of his many great lines of dialogue here. He just says, "Shut up." And he says this so many times, and I laugh every time. It's great. He's asking us stuff that he already knows, like who we are, where we're going. He is really fucking mad that we didn't go to the Harbinger Motel, like he told us to. And then he says that we've stepped into some double prime, grade A, go ahead and kill yourself, cosmic horror bullshit, which is just awesome. I really like the writing they did for this guy. And in general, compared to Until Dawn, I think the writing is much better. The dialogue writing, anyway.
I agree. I mean, yeah, outside of the characters who are clearly supposed to be annoying, actual dialogue is pretty damn good.
It was good. It was good in Until Dawn, too. It's just, it's better here.
Yeah, it's better.
Again, you can be as defiant or as compliant as you want. Both you and I, Adam, I think we were really polite and compliant the whole time, right?
I respect authority figures, so yeah, I was compliant. I was like, me fighting back against this guy isn't going to accomplish anything, so let's just comply.
Yeah, we love cops over here.
I do.
No comment from me. You eventually he's going to take you, he lifts you out of the chair, he walks you to see Max. He's in it. Well, okay. So Max is there. We saw Max transform as the player, but when we find Max now, he's alive and he's got his skin. He's just in his underwear. Yeah,
this is an interesting continuity error because I actually think I read somewhere that they're supposed to be naked after every transformation, but they had to change that, I think, because of a ratings thing, so they can't actually show all the characters naked. So now when they turn back to human after a werewolf transformation, they're just in their underwear.
It happens with a very notable character towards the end as well.
Yeah.
A notable female character which, double the pieces of underwear, so it's more apparent.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was a ratings thing. Like they couldn't just go full dong.
Exactly. It's like the Hulk. The Hulk's shorts always seem to stay on, so,
Yeah.
Whatevs.
I would have preferred the dong. I'll just say it.
I would have preferred the dong too, and the little pancake titties. If
Max doesn't know what's going on. Like, he's just as confused as us. He doesn't know why he's naked. He doesn't know why there's blood on the walls. And eventually the cop will come back. He gives Max clothes and he cuffs him to do his own interrogation. But he comes back pretty quickly. So this leaves Laura and Max to sort of ponder what's going on. You can kind of like steer their relationship into being like good or just constantly fighting here. They start fighting about the grad school thing, about snooping in his stuff, which is like, I get it, but it's a little weird to me because you were attacked by an animal. That I would not be thinking about grad school at all here, personally.
Yeah. Same. It'd be like, oh, I'm only concerned about survival right now, so who gives a fuck about university?
And if I do die, I don't have to pay back all those fucking student loans, so it's a win-win.
Yeah, your guys' system is fucked. We don't have student loans like that.
Believe me, buddy, I know all too well.
Yeah. Anyway.
While you're sort of just talking, Max mentions casually that his wounds have fully healed. And this is where the first character posits that it might be werewolves. He's like, look, there's a full moon. There's hunters, like something bit me. It's a full moon. And there's a line that Laura says, "Are you out of your goddamn mind?" And I kind of like how they do this because halfway through it's transitions into Ryan saying the same thing. Because like Ryan in the present doesn't buy any of this. He's like, this is all bullshit. And Dylan and Laura both say, "Shut the fuck up," so we can keep hearing the story.
Fucking Ryan. Shut up, Ryan.
Yeah, he's the one that listens to the podcast, bizarre yet bona fide. But werewolves,
he should believe this. Yeah. He should be the gullible one that believes everything. He should have been the character who presented the option first because it would suit everything that they've set up with him so far.
So Laura does finish her story. Hackett kept them there until the next full moon. So like a full month he's keeping them like hostage while the camp is going on, by the way.
You just glazed over an important little plot point, by the way, which is that the police officer is a Hackett.
Oh, I didn't... did we find that out already?
Yeah, because it's on his name badge.
Okay, then yes, I did miss that. We do see that he is a Hackett. The sheriff is a Hackett. Very important. You can try to escape full out or like sweet talk the sheriff to then escape. I tried the latter just because I thought it'd be funny. They're very bad at sweet talking.
Yeah.
Like comically bad. So much so that like at one point Ted Raimi says like, "I know what you're doing. It's not going to work." And immediately Max just goes, "You asshole." Like, well, now it's not going to work. You dumbass.
Thanks a lot, Max.
So, Laura lets it slip. She's like, "We know it's werewolves. Like, we know what's going on." And this, like, he stops in his tracks and he turns around and he's like, "You don't know the half of what's going on. Like, don't even pretend that you do." And this is where we get a time jump here. It's still the flashback, but it's like a time jump within the flash. It makes perfect sense. Trust me. Hackett is, the sheriff, by the way, is tasing Max and he's telling him to take his clothes off. A little weird.
Laura, do you not do that on a date? I mean, that's how I get everyone into bed.
I usually don't see tasers on a date, personally. I'm vanilla. What can I say? Yeah, exactly. Laura's pissed, obviously. So Hackett drags her out. He sits her down on a chair next to a radiator and handcuffs her there. It's like just far enough away from the cell, but not far enough, as we'll find out. So he says, he handcuffs her there. He's like, "You'll see for yourself." He says, "You said you wanted to be a vet. Let's call this an internship." I thought that was great. And then he just walks away. And Max goes through the transformation almost immediately. It's a little more drawn out where he's like on his hands and knees. He's like growling, but he Hot Pocket explodes all the same. His skin bursts off, and this is where he like reaches through the bars and he scratches Laura's eye out.
Yeah, that part happened real quick. It was very hard to tell what actually happened.
I love that it happened so quick. Like, It wasn't dramatic. It was just like she made one wrong move by standing too close and she lost an eye.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But I was like, wait, what? Hang on a second. Why is she bleeding now? How did the wrist thingy handcuffs come off? Oh, well, doesn't matter. Let's continue on.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I guess I just assumed that Max also caught the cuffs, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, in the end, it doesn't really matter anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. Nitpicky, but
yeah.
You patch yourself up. No, well, it is a big deal, but it's not a big deal right now. We get to explore here. We can find some tranks that the cop used on us, and we can take it and hide it. If you don't hide it, you get frisked the next day, and he finds it, and he'll just take it. So you sit down after wandering around for a little bit in your cell with the door wide open while there is a beast not even 10 feet from you, and you go to sleep. Because you're the protagonist. You have plot armor. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
when you wake
it's
up,
behind a cell. You're fine.
A cell with an open door.
Oh, no, the werewolf is in a cell that's closed, though.
Well, yes, the werewolf cell is closed, but I don't know. If I saw a werewolf, I would be like, yeah, he's strong enough to bend the bars.
Oh, okay. I probably would have just went to bed as well. I would have been like, fuck this, my eye hurts, I'm going to bed.
Reckless. When you wake up, Hackett is already there with you. Like I said, he'll try to frisk you, but I hid the trank, so nothing came of it. Max is back to human now, and he hands him this tablet. He says it's information, and then he comes back to you to explain things. He gives you a terrible poem to read, and the gist of it is this. You've got to find the first werewolf on a full moon with silver to stop the curse. In retrospect, I don't remember if I just misunderstood this. What it said is that, you to cure yourself, you have to kill the werewolf that bit you. So basically, if werewolf A bit werewolf B, and then werewolf B bit like 17 people, if you killed werewolf B, the 17 people would be okay, but the first werewolf would still be there. If you killed the first werewolf A, then not only would the 17 people be cured, but so would werewolf B. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's the way it works, yeah. So the original first werewolf, you kill that one, everyone that's been infected by the werewolves that they've created and the werewolves that have been created by those werewolves are then cured, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What we also learn is that this is Hackett's family. Like, they are the werewolves. And somehow this sheriff is acting on it on his own or doesn't agree with his family. He's not really telling us the whole story just yet. We learn a little more the next day because Chris Hackett comes here and he's raising hell. He's like, I know that you've got my counselors here. Like, what do you think you're doing?
Just quick interjection. He also explains that Laura is not infected because scratches don't infect you. It's only bites.
Oh, I completely missed that line.
Yeah, so you only have to be bitten by the werewolf. You don't have to be scratched by the werewolf. Because obviously, it gouged her eye out. So she's not going to change because it was a scratch.
I remember that you get a choice to ask about yourself or about his family. And I asked about his family because I wanted more lore, but he doesn't actually say anything. So I didn't get that line.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that was optional.
Yeah, apparently so. So Chris Hackett, he's raising hell. He knows that you're here. This is where we find out that Chris was the werewolf that actually bit Max. So as far as we know, Chris is the original so far. Unfortunately, there's a QTE here to catch a coffee cup that you accidentally knock over. And when I went to grab my controller, because it was just setting down, I bumped the analog stick, so I failed it. And they left and did their conversation elsewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't hear anything more. All I heard was that I don't know if we learn his name yet. The cop's name is Travis.
Yeah.
Travis shoots Chris when he's in werewolf form with a non-silver bullet, and Chris is like, "You shot me," and he's like, "You should thank the Lord that it wasn't silver." something like that.
Yeah. I think I listened to the rest of their conversation, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was, so it mustn't have been that much more important than what was already said.
That's good. That was the only QTE I failed by, not purposefully.
Yeah.
Because I bumped my stupid controller. So you devise a plan to lure Travis into your cell so you can hit him with the trank and get out of there. And, unless you're smacking your controller around like I do, you'll probably get the QTE and you trank him. You take his keys and his gun, and we're going to go and kill Chris Hackett. Hooray. What's really interesting here is that voice that we were hearing from Nana in the woods. We hear it here, and she's like luring us to this room. And when what we find in that room are homemade silver bullets, silver shotgun shells. And that's kind of that. In present day, back out of the flashback, Laura says that she left Max on the island because the werewolf on that island, he can't get off because it's surrounded by water. So that's who's over there. That was who was chasing Emma. And, she left him there and she came to the quarry because she's going to kill Chris Hackett.
Poor David Arquette.
Yeah, poor weird-faced David Arquette.
Yeah. It's been through a stroke and then now this girl is trying to kill him. Poor guy.
So what we put two and two together, the werewolf that Laura shot, the girl in the pool, was Kaylee Hackett.
Yeah.
She thought that it was Chris, but you can't tell, when they're werewolves, obviously. She didn't stick around to see the transformation because after they die, they transform back. So she goes to the island, gets bitten by Max as a werewolf, and barely escapes. You can choose to hide the bite from the group and just not tell you about it. I showed it, just, to be honest, just because I figured something would happen. And Ryan immediately takes the gun and just points it at your face. And the scene is over.
I did the exact same thing as well.
There are just two little quick scenes that end out the chapter. One, there's an old woman sort of taunting a werewolf in an electric cage in this red room. And then we see the hunters throwing Jacob into another cage in the same room. We really don't get more information than that. And then it ends into chapter 8, The Belly of the Beast.
Here we go. It's starting to ramp up now.
It is, man. It is. Depending on how you're playing, Ryan can be really hostile towards Laura. You're going to be spending a lot of time with the two of them moving forward. In my playthrough, Laura fashioned a silver bullet out of Abby's bracelet, just in case.
Oh, yes. Since Abby was missing her head in my playthrough, I do not believe that happened for me.
Little difficult if that's the situation you're in.
I mean, they might have taken the bracelet off of a rotting dead corpse, but I do not think so.
It's tough. I don't. We don't get to see them kind of grieve a whole lot in this game, so I don't really know where their mindsets are.
Well, to be fair, they're not friends; they're just work colleagues. So,
would you
grieve if one of your work colleagues was turned into a zombie and then got their head ripped off? Zombie werewolf.
I am going to withhold comment just in case. You never know.
I mean, I'd be surprised, but I don't know if I would cry or anything. I'd probably be like, "Well, what the fuck? Shit's happening."
What the fuck shit's happening is like the number one response to this whole game, pretty much.
Yeah, it's true.
So you, Laura and Ryan are going to be exploring, and you eventually find this, like, what they describe it as a redneck mansion in the ass crack of the woods. And how convenient, this happens to be the Hackett house. That's where they live. Or at least, they use that house anyway. As the two of you argue, Laura and Ryan, you fall into the earth, like, through the ground into a cavern of sorts. There's always a cavern in these games. The bad news is that Laura's wounds are regenerating really fast. Like, she grew her eye back. So her transformation is coming quicker and quicker.
I love that, though. I think it's a really cool touch.
Oh, yeah. There's a scene coming up here pretty soon that involves that very thing, like the regeneration. Like, I really think it's a cool touch. Better than just, like, being killed,
Oh, absolutely. And the way that they use it later on, I think, is really creative.
There's a weird dynamic here where like Laura and Ryan are like flirting, kind of. Did you get that? Did you read it as that?
Oh, no, I definitely didn't. I think
I
they had a
kinda
little
did.
bit of banter, but it wasn't flirty. I don't
Yeah,
think.
it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't obvious. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. It's just hard to
Maybe.
tell because Ryan's delivery is always just the same.
Ah, yeah, I see a note here where you say, I don't like Ryan as a character at all.
I did write that. That's significantly nicer and more to the point than what I wrote above. But nobody will ever see that. Caitlin, Dylan, and Abby. They're back outside, unless Abby got her head ripped off.
Uh-huh.
And you see the minivan kind of like rocking back and forth. It's a rockin', so we go a knockin'. I thought, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, part of me wondered, like, are Jacob and Emma fucking like in the minivan? For a second, I thought maybe.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be that because my Emma was infected.
Is she still in there, even if she is infected?
Yes, so she was infected and in the minivan, which is why it was moving. Dylan then decided to open it, and he opened it and let her out.
Oh,
As
like,
a
and she
werewolf.
was a werewolf.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit! What, does anybody get killed right there?
You can kill her if you shoot her with the silver bullet made out of Abby's bracelet, but since Abby was also dead, I didn't have a silver bullet, so I think I just shot her and she ran away off into the woods.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. If Emma has not turned, she maces Dylan, and like there's a whole panic scene, and then Caitlin comes up and goes, "Dude, it's just air freshener," and Dylan like immediately stops crying, and he's like, "Oh, okay." It's a sitcom. It's a TV sitcom.
Kids these days.
Emma and Abby, since they were both alive and human in my playthrough, they go into the shelter under the lodge, while Dylan and Caitlin, they go to a nearby scrapyard to look for something to fix the minivan, which leads into one of my favorite sequences in this game.
Yeah, so that's interesting because I was always curious what happened with Emma and Abby when they weren't infected and or were still alive. So yeah, interesting to see that that's how their sort of story was resolved-ish. Or that's where they wound up. Because for me, it was like Dylan and Caitlin are just going to go to the scrapyard now because they don't have anybody else with them.
They have one more major moment towards the end. It's coming up pretty soon, actually.
Okay, interesting.
This takes us back to Ryan and Laura. They're in the basement of the Hackett house, and we can hear the Hacketts talking upstairs. Well, and we can see them. We finally see the matriarch. Her name is Constance. She was the one that was taunting the werewolf. I did not, or maybe I did note. Oh, yes, this is Lynn Shay.
Yeah.
Her performance is awesome. She's so good.
Yeah, she's really, really good. She does the redneck thing very well, surprisingly.
She says that they're trying to keep the kids safe. Those are her words. We don't know what that means. I mean, could they be us? We don't know. Below, this is where Laura and Ryan can find Jacob as well as a werewolf in those electric cages. You can accidentally kill the werewolf here, and it's Nick. We don't know it, but it's Nick. You can shoot it and kill it.
I did that.
You did.
Yeah, I just point blank shot him, and he died.
Oh, that's interesting. So I chose, like, Ryan intervened, and he's like, "Hey, we don't know that that's Chris. That could be Nick." And so
Yeah.
Laura says, "Okay, I won't shoot." Put a pin in that, because what I did after that, this I don't think this happens directly after, but oh wait, no, it does happen here. You get the choice to let Jacob out of the cage or not. So my thinking was, okay, he's locked in a cage. The cage is electrified. He is safe here. Like, he's gonna be fine. So I left him, and the game like asks you twice, like, do you want to reconsider? Like it does one of those, and I was like, no, like he's gonna be okay, and he's pissed about it, but you just leave him there, and we go back to eavesdrop some more.
I think I should clarify, I didn't just like shoot him. I think I attempted to save Jacob by, unelectrifying the fence or whatever, but it inadvertently opened up the cage to Nick's cell as well, which put Jacob at threat. So then I shot Nick and he died. Pretty sure.
that is the move to make if you want to save Jacob.
Yeah.
Because
hindsight, I probably shouldn't have.
We'll see pretty soon what happened to me and
Okay.
my Jacob. Spoiler alert, he dies.
Ooh.
Travis tells Constance that Kaylee is dead, and they fight. This is where Lin Shaye does such a great performance with this. She is losing her mind. She's like, good boys protect their family. You ain't no good boy. And like she knocks it out of the park. She's so good here.
She's dead.
No.
The boys are bringing her in right now.
Now I know you got to screw loose in that cop head of yours. There ain't no way to kill her in her kind of condition.
Silver bullet. She's dead, Ma.
No.
God damn.
No. No. Not my granddaughter. Not my only granddaughter. Not my Kaylee. Not my little Kaylee. Not my little Kaylee. Not my little Kaylee. You goddamn piece of shit. Not my little Kaylee. God damn you. What did you do to her?
Not my little Kaylee. Not my baby Kaylee. Something like that.
Yeah, dude, over and over. And Ted Raimi is just stone-faced. Like, he's not like he's so over it. And, he tries to pull the cop card at one point, and she's like, oh, yeah, big cop, big man. I ain't listening to shit you say. It's like, she's really good here.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Conveniently for us, there's another trap door on the floor here, and wouldn't you know it, we found the ladder that leads right up to it. They hear us. So Constance kind of opens the door and grabs Laura by the ponytail, and Ryan runs away. This, I mentioned at the very beginning, there's like one song in particular. Here, it ends with like some footage of the house, like a little montage of the house, the area, and like this gypsy jazz mixed with squirrel nut zippers, kind of like punk ska kind of deal. What the fuck? Like, this did not match the atmosphere at all. I put my controller down and I was like, this is just like what happened in Life is Strange. They do this in all these narrative games. Like, man, hire me. Put me in. Like, I'll put in the good stuff. I'll put in the songs. Hey, Supermassive Games, Rick Firestone is here to save the day.
Yeah.
I'll save the company.
And then once you've hired him for the music, you can hire me for the next Australian character, because I'll do a better performance than Nick.
There you go. And if I may say so, Adam is more handsome than Nick. It's a win-win for you, Supermassive.
Oh, thank you. No, it's true, though, because he's not even that attractive.
Yeah, he looks like this reference won't land for most people, probably. He looks like Finn DiTrolio from The Sopranos.
Yeah, he looks more like someone from Heartbreak High, the 90s version on ABC Australia. So that's a reference that will land even less than yours. You're welcome.
Okay, we're at Chapter 9. We are almost done. This is Chapter 9, The Matriarch. Caitlin and Dylan go to the scrapyard. This is one of my favorite scenes in the game. We get a brief scene with Abby and Emma in the shelter here. There's really not much to say. There's a lot from here to the end, a lot of like brief scenes and jumping between people's POVs. So, I mean, if you're already this far into the episode, you're probably going to continue to bear with us, but, bear with us here. Back with Laura and the Hacketts, she kind of manages, Laura does, to get out of the grip, and like she's pointing the gun in the corner, and Constance turns off the lights. You can't shoot what you can't see, she says. This is where a struggle ensues, and it can go a couple different ways. What happened to me was I managed to get away from her, and I didn't let her get the gun.
Okay.
Me. Yeah, go ahead.
For me, because I think I know where you're going with this. For me, I accidentally shot her face off.
Yeah, it's probably the goriest scene in the game. Like, you shoot her point blank in the face with a shotgun.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, she died. So poor Lin Shaye, only a couple of scenes in my playthrough, and she got her face blown off with a shotgun. Whoops.
Either way, Bobby is going to come back with Ryan here. Oh, this is wild. You wouldn't have got this then if Lin Shaye died for you. You get the option to either distract or run as Laura. If you choose distract, Laura will just start this high-pitched whining. Like she literally goes... And literally, like, everybody just looks at each other and they're like, what the fuck is she doing? Lin Shaye's character, what does she say? She says, hey, little bitch, you're singing off key. It's pretty good.
I did see that. So I my first playthrough was when I played with my actual own choices. My second reminder playthrough was when I did the director's version where you get to choose personality traits for each of the characters, and then it just plays out without needing any inputs or exploration. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually a really good feature because you can just play through the entire game or have it play, and you can select everyone be rational or sympathetic or whatever. And I picked positive traits for everyone except for Nick. I made him be extremely clumsy and kind of antagonistic. But anyway, point is, he actually, I think he ended up surviving. But in that playthrough, I got that scene where she does the high-pitched whining, and I thought it was very, very strange.
Well, I'm interested to see if it went the whole way, because you get two chances to do this. Bobby ends up stabbing Ryan in the side here, and Ryan kind of runs to this dumbwaiter, one of those like elevators in a wall to escape. And Bobby will, go after you because you took his knife. It's hanging out of your side, but he says you took my knife. So you get another chance here. The prompt will be to spit in Constance's face. So I chose not to do that. And if you don't do that, everybody just like stares at each other for a sec, and Laura starts up the whining again. And immediately Constance just grabs a pistol and shoots her in the head. She's like, God. Yeah, she was just really annoying.
Did she die for you?
Well, no, she's a werewolf, remember? So even a shot to the head without a silver bullet, like she's going to regenerate and she'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't think Constance knew that she had been infected yet.
Yeah.
But, above, Ryan is continuing to run from Bobby. But, you're stabbed. So you're going to get caught. I was able to successfully run from him. And he yells, "You can't hide from me in my own house, fucker." And Ryan waits a beat and goes, "You're the fucker." And the only note that I wrote for that is Jesus Christ.
Ryan. Stupid Ryan.
Yeah, it's corny. We're back to Laura again, because again, this is going to be bouncing back and forth quite a bit. If you didn't kill Constance, you'll run into her and Jedediah again. What I did was I taunted them, and they shot me again, because you're like, oh yeah, what a lot of good that did last time, huh? So they shoot you, you're on the ground, and he takes a knife and he's like, I can't kill you, but I can make you suffer. So a fight ensues here. I was able to get away from him, and this is where Jacob died for me, because you can try to run, which is what I did. I didn't want to fight them. I just wanted to run away. And to do that, Laura goes to a fuse breaker and she trips it. She shuts it off.
Oh.
What then happens is the electric cage's doors open. Jacob gets up and looks at the werewolf, and they just stand there, and then the werewolf walks over and just kills him immediately.
Oh. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Poor Jacob, I suppose.
I thought about using a rewind, but it would have taken me back a full chapter. So I said, no thank you. Because I beat this game like a half hour before we started recording.
I think when I played, I didn't enable the option to rewind, because I thought, you know what, my choices are just going to be what I pick, and I'm just going to go with the flow. So yeah, having Abby's head ripped off, killing Nick, killing Constance, like all these things, I'm like, all right, we're just going to go with it. This is what happened for me.
That's what I did on my first playthrough, to be fair. I think I like the rewind feature, but like first time, just let things play out. See what happens.
Exactly.
Laura is able to get away though. And then we're back with Ryan. Bobby ends up catching you, and he plans to kill you. He's like, you're bleeding out, so it's the humane thing to do. But this is pretty funny. Laura will jump through the roof like a fucking superhero and hit the ground, Iron Man stance, and immediately Bobby realizes that you've been bitten, and he runs away, and he's like, Travis, she's been bitten. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Same thing happened for me.
Oh, and I think you were alluding to this earlier. So do you want to talk about what happens here? Like when Ryan's bleeding out and then Laura has like a moment of a good idea?
Did we miss a bit? Isn't there a part where she turns into a werewolf, or is that coming up?
That's coming up.
Okay, then cut that bit out. So, yes, what happens is Ryan is obviously bleeding out, and so Laura's just like, I can bite you if you want and infect you and you won't die. And then we'll have to kill Chris Hackett to save you, but at least you won't be dead. And then it's up to you whether or not you want to select yes or no as Ryan. And basically having him infected is the only way to make sure that he survives at this point. So in my game, I allowed Laura to bite him and infect him. And yeah, he survived the stab wound.
And what I find really cool about this, it's very subtle, but like Laura will hesitate because she's not fully turned yet. She's infected, but she hasn't turned. So
Yeah.
she's really hesitant about biting him. Would you do that?
Well, I was thinking about it. I did actually think about this when I was watching it. I was like, I don't know if I could actually bite a person as a conscious human being and perforate their skin and get blood in my mouth and stuff, because it just doesn't seem like a natural instinct to do. So I would struggle, and I'd probably like, have you ever bitten yourself, like your finger or your hand or something, and you just like bite down really, really hard and it doesn't perforate the skin, but it hurts like fucking hell. Like, you need to do that. But worse.
I forget where I read this, but like, I'm pretty sure like it only takes the same jaw pressure to bite through your finger as it would like a carrot, you know?
Really?
Because our jaws are incredibly strong, but our brains won't let us do it. Like, okay,
Yeah.
Don't do it. Stop.
I mean, how?
he's doing it now, listeners. There's going to be a problem on the show. But there's like our brain doesn't let us do that, like because it recognizes that that's trouble. Like we can't bite our own fingers off.
Yeah, because I have this habit of like, you guys can't see it, but I will put like my index finger in between my knuckle and my second knuckle in my mouth, and I will bite on it when I'm stressed, like just on the skin, and I leave teeth marks in my finger all the time, but I never bite hard enough to go through. And yeah, I mean, obviously, if your brain won't allow you to perforate your own skin with a bite, then would it allow you to do the same thing to someone else? Probably, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, there's probably a self-survival instinct in there somewhere that wouldn't apply to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I would struggle with it, is the short answer.
Me too. Like being bitten or doing the biting. I don't.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, I've done biting and like foreplay and stuff, but never that hard.
There it is. There it is.
I'm not really into it. I'm not into pain. I don't want that. Thanks.
Interesting. So this takes us to one of the coolest scenes in the game, IMO. We're in the scrapyard with Dylan and Caitlin, or Dylan, as I wrote in my script. You're walking around. As you're going, you're triggering motion lights because it's a scrapyard. That's important. And you're looking for a car that hasn't been picked clean. You find one. It's on one of those like magnetic crane sort of things. So Dylan goes inside to lower the car down so Caitlin can, do her thing. Caitlin knows cars. She knows what she's doing.
She knows fucking everything.
Yeah. She's like, I don't think they overdid it, but like there was one point early on when I was playing the first time when I was like, oh, they're just gonna make Caitlin like I think I said it earlier, the hashtag girl boss that's just good at everything and saves the day. They don't do that, but like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, she does know a lot.
She knows a lot about cars and guns and being good at comebacks to make fun of Jacob. But as Caitlin's looking through the car, since we're up top, we can see the motion lights being tripped. Somehow the werewolf had come and found us, and it's on its way. This can go a couple different ways. What I did was as Caitlin gets in the car, I decided to raise it without saying anything. And she's freaking out at first. She's like, oh my God, put me down, like, blah, blah, blah. And then she sees the werewolf, like, or she feels the werewolf on the car. And then she's like, oh no. You can choose to either drop the car to try to scare the werewolf or use the horn. I used the horn because that worked before. And what that'll do, though, is it prompts the werewolf to jump at you in the cockpit. And wouldn't you know it, there's a convenient fire torch, like just sitting in the cockpit. So you take it, you use it, and it gets the werewolf away from you. Problem is now Caitlin's on the ground. The werewolf is coming at her. And right as it lunges, you drop the car and it crushes it. Like as it's in the air going towards Caitlin, it drops. And it's a very cool scene. It's very tense the whole way through. It's exhilarating. I loved it. I'm sorry. I know I'm talking like a whole lot. What happened for you in this scene?
Pretty much everything you just said happened for me, except I don't believe I had the fire thing. I'm pretty sure Caitlin just jumped out of the car, landed on some tires or something that broke her fall. Then the werewolf jumped after her and Dylan just dropped the car on it. And that was basically it. But yeah, very intense scene. And I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I like, he says something about like trying to operate the crane with his stump or something as well, I think, which I found really funny.
He makes a quip. He's like, yeah, I used to be really good at the arcade machines. They called me the grabber. And immediately Caitlin's like, nope.
Yeah, I think specifically he said, the kids used to call me the grabber.
Yeah. He's on a list.
Yes.
So you didn't get this scene, I'm guessing. There's a mini scene with Abby and Emma in the shelter.
No, definitely didn't get that.
So way back when Ryan and Dylan are in the office, if you go down through that trap door, the ladder going down will break. And since neither of us did that ladder is intact. So that's how Abby and Emma are able to get into Chris's office, and they're safe now in there.
Oh.
That's going to guarantee their survival, I think. Which is cool.
Cool.
But that's all that happens. Then we get another, like, we're just bouncing around like crazy here. We're back to Laura and Ryan. They're making their way through the house. Laura's transformation is coming soon. Like, she can feel it. We find Chris in werewolf form. His hands are chained to a pillar. I don't think whoever put him there thought this through, because as soon as he stands up and sees humans, he's able to rip the chains off. And I guess the combined weight of all of us just crashes us through the floor and into the main room of like where the Hacketts are. And as we come to here, we can see that the werewolf Chris is attacking Bobby. He's holding him back. Laura is really trying hard not to transform, but she does as soon as Travis walks in. And she throws Travis against a wall, which breaks a mirror. Happens to be a silver-backed mirror. What are the odds? So he picks up a shard. Travis does. But Ryan has a gun with a silver bullet, and you have a clear shot at Chris. So you get to choose. Like, do you want to kill Chris or not? So I did.
Yep. Pretty much exactly the same thing happened to me, except I believe Chris ended up killing Bobby anyway, because Constance being dead. Yeah, something about Constance being dead, and Bobby was potentially injured by not having any fingers or something, so he couldn't fight off Chris, and Chris killed him. And then I shot Chris, who then died. But, no, sorry, let me back that up a little bit. Chris killed Bobby, and then I am pretty sure Chris then kills Jedediah, and then I kill Chris. And Travis is with Laura, holding her off as a werewolf, going to stab her with this mirror thing. He doesn't do it, but she transforms back into a human and survives, and Travis also survives. So now, in my game, every single Hackett except Travis is now dead.
So it must be the Constance factor, right?
Yeah, I think
this is the Constance factor. That's what scientists call it. Everybody's saying it. Shut up. Don't write me. Because, like, I mean, everything else we've done almost the same. Like Travis or Bobby also lost his fingers in mine. But nobody died here except for Chris, for me. It's very funny because like assuming Travis isn't... Wait, did you say Travis dies too?
No, sorry, Travis is the only one that survives. Jedediah also dies.
Okay, that's right. You did say that. As Laura transforms back into a human, she's like biting Travis's arm, and
Yes.
you know, when she changes back, she's still doing it. It's kind of funny, even though they're like all covered in blood and everybody's dead. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
This is where we get a bit of a lore dump here. Travis gives you the lowdown. Chris wasn't the first werewolf. Caleb, Kaylee's brother, was the one that bit Chris and Kaylee. Caleb is still out there, and Travis wants to save him. Save him. I don't know why I got Southern there.
Travis wants to save Caleb.
Yeah, I do declare. And it turns out, too, that Caleb was bitten by somebody named Silas. This is the same name that the ghost hag lady has been whispering. He's been on the run for years, and they've been hunting him like literally every full moon. They've been looking for Silas. Ryan, I don't remember seeing this, but Ryan says that he saw a white wolf at the cabins, and that's how Silas is different. He's the white wolf.
Yeah, I remember Silas is the one that can potentially bite some of the other kids, because there's a version where all of the kids still get infected and survive, having Chris Hackett already dead because he's not the one that's responsible for biting them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's really, really difficult to actually tell which one is Silas and which one is Caleb or Kaylee or whatever.
Yeah, I can't tell the difference between any of them.
Yeah.
To be honest, even Silas, because we see him soon. Even though he's been on the run for like 6 years, once Ryan says like, "Oh yeah, I saw him at the cabins," Travis is like, "I know exactly where he's at." So okay, so he's like, "Yeah, it's time to end this. Like, we're gonna go kill this thing."
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the fortune teller lady too much, and this is the first time I got something worth mentioning about her. And I'm curious, did you get this scene with the flashback with her?
I don't know. What was the flashback?
I did not get this on my first playthrough. First of all, in this instance, when you talk to her, she's really mad at you. She's telling you should take care of that family once and for all. So she has a stake in this. She wants to see the Hacketts dead. And I don't know if it's specifically because of the Hierophant card, but I found that tarot card on this playthrough. And when I presented it to her, she freaks out and she's like, "That wasn't supposed to be there. Oh, my baby boy, my baby boy." And we get a flashback of Eliza. And it turns out, well, actually, that's her name. The fortune teller's name is Eliza. She was Silas's mom. And she's the ghost lady that we've been seeing. That's Nana. I did not put that together.
From the old folks' home.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that. I just didn't see this actual flashback.
Well, you see their whole harem scarum sideshow up in flames. Like, you walk up as Eliza, it's in flames. You see that Silas's cage is open and he's gone. And you see the dead, burnt body of the sheriff that Travis ended up taking over for.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I definitely didn't get that. Quick note, though, I did get her having a very positive response to me killing many of the Hacketts, though.
Yeah, I figured she would have loved that.
She was in a good mood about that, so I didn't get yelled at for anything. So, yeah.
We learned this all pretty soon anyway, but what happened was Kaylee felt bad for Silas because his mom was keeping him in a cage and like touring him around like a freak show. So Kaylee convinced Caleb to set some hay on fire, like hay bales, as a distraction to let Silas out. She does, and then because hay is hay, everything caught fire and everything burnt down. Everybody was dying. Silas escaped, but bit Caleb in the process. So that's where this whole thing started. And the fortune teller, Eliza, she's blaming this all on the Hacketts. She's like, it's their fault. But
I mean, it kind of is.
Kind of, but at the same time, like, why were you keeping your dog boy locked up and parading him around for money? You know,
well,
like,
family's got to eat, right?
Either. Yeah. It's tough out there. It's tough times.
Yeah. But yeah, it just goes to show that animal rights activists never accomplish anything of value. They just
Yeah,
create
you
more
hear
problems.
that? Suck it, PETA. This is an anti-PETA podcast.
Yeah. Fuck you, Peter. Peter, pumpkin eater. I know what you meant, but yeah. Anyway, Kaylee, it's all Kaylee's fault because she just couldn't keep to herself and let this poor redneck family be with their deadly child in a cage.
In a way, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of. This takes us into chapter 10, the final chapter, Bricks and Mortar. And this chapter wraps up a little quicker than the rest. You wake up, well, okay, so there's a couple different ways that this can go. So I'm just going to lay out what happened to me. And Adam, if anything is notably different, just jump in, like interrupt me, strong arm me out of the way and say, move it, fat boy. It's my turn.
I'll raise my hand and be like,
boy.
It's my turn.
Okay. Still don't call me fat boy, though.
I won't, unless you ask me to.
Let's talk after this. No, I'm just kidding. What happened for me is Max wakes up this time in a tree because we killed Chris and Chris infected him. So Max is a human. There's a little bit of a funny moment here where he goes back to collect his clothes from the treehouse. But since Emma took them, all you have are her yoga pants and like a tiny hoodie. So you put that on. Did you get this too?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Okay, maybe it has to happen this way. What doesn't have to happen this way is you get an option here. You can swim to shore, like to the mainland of camp, or you can just stay on the island. If you swim to shore, you immediately die because as soon as you get out, a werewolf is right there and it rips your throat out.
Yeah, I chose to stay. I was like, well, I'm not going anywhere. I know it's safe right here, so let's just stay and wait till sunrise, until the sun comes up.
We already know that Max is the only werewolf there, so
yeah,
he's just got to wait there. Otherwise, he dies. Back at the lodge with Dylan and Caitlin, you are trying to find a vantage point to prepare for another werewolf attack. There are also a lot of clues for the lore here if you want to look for them. Shortly, very shortly thereafter, we can hear a werewolf approaching, and it not only comes down the chimney, but it punches its face through the chimney, the siding of the chimney, before falling onto the ground. Pretty crazy. Dylan and Caitlin can both die here pretty easily. Actually, my Dylan did die here, but I used a death rewind. What ended up happening, you get so the werewolf is coming up the stairs, and you can either run or you can wait. So I waited, and if you wait, it comes up, and you have to shoot it, but the timing to shoot it is really tight. And the first time, I missed it, and Caitlin just runs away, and the werewolf grabs Dylan, bites his neck, and then just repeatedly starts just beating his head on the floor.
Oh my God.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't happen for me. I don't know what happened to Dylan exactly, but Caitlin was kind of singled out and then she ended up running away from it. And in my game, she decided to go outside and climb up the roof. And then I missed a quick time event and she basically just got slaughtered by the werewolf. And then I think Dylan killed it after that. I think.
So I did the roof thing too. I didn't die on the roof. What happens is like it's a chase scene where everybody's moving very slowly. It's very weird. But what happens is Emma and Abby are watching all of this in Chris's office because of the cameras are set up. And they decide that if they see you running past, they're going to like pound on the door because I guess they can't get out for some reason because it locks from the outside is what they say. But that doesn't make sense to me. But if you and Dylan both survive, or if one of you survives and you get down there, they'll pound on the door, they'll yell for you. Dylan says, like, we don't have time for that, let's just go. But if you investigate, they roll out the shotgun shells with silver underneath the door, you load it up, and then you can kill the werewolf right there, which is what I did.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
I didn't
nobody
have
has
that.
died for me here, except for Jacob.
Yeah, I didn't have that because they weren't there, but I somehow managed to have the bullets to kill the werewolf with Dylan after Caitlin had already died.
So we're just about at the end here. We're back to Laura riding with Ryan and Chris in the car. We're looking for Silas. She says, how are we going to find Silas? Just driving in the middle of the road. And then immediately he jumps onto the cop car. We end up getting him off of there. He runs into the woods and we got to find him. This is where we learn the backstory of the Hag of Hackett's Quarry being Eliza and the whole Silas deal. because you might not have pieced that together if you didn't find everything. And he tells that whole backstory. This is where we get a good jump scare too with Eliza. That's pretty nice. But we find Silas, and he's sort of like laying down in what looks like, was it like the old sideshow cage? That's what it kind of looked like, right?
Yeah, I think it is. It's the old cage that he used to be kept in. So I guess it's his home. He was just sleeping in his home.
Because he's laying with his back to you and he's like whimpering. It made it look like he missed his mom or something. Like he was sad. Like they're trying to get you to feel sympathy, because what happens is Laura has the gun and you don't have to shoot. So I use one of my death rewinds here, because what happened at first was I didn't shoot. Hackett tried to take the gun. I failed the QuickTime event, and you shoot Hackett through the stomach.
Oh my God.
And so Travis dies right there. Then Silas, then you get an opportunity to shoot again. So I said, no, I won't shoot. So Silas notices you, gets up, and in one swipe just takes Laura's head off completely.
Wow.
Yeah, so I used a rewind, so I didn't have to do that.
Shame on you. Yeah, I was happy with Travis, so I'm like, we're buds. I loved some Ted Raimi, so we're all good. We're squared away. First chance I got, I just shot Silas and he died, and then that was basically game over. In a good way. Like, ending, done.
In a good way and in a real way. Like, after you shoot Silas here, the game is over. Basically, you get like a little montage of the woods and you see the cops pull up to the camp, but then the game, it's just done, And I think this is what I meant when I said, like, it wraps up very abruptly, Like, it wraps up fine. Like, I mean, they took care of the original infection, but, like, it was all very sudden, felt like.
I actually had a scene that I don't think you had, because I haven't seen it mentioned here, and I'm not sure where it comes to be placed, but since Jacob escaped the cage and Emma was infected as a werewolf and was in the woods, once I don't know if I think it was Chris once I killed Caleb with Dylan, she was back to being normal. So there's this interaction between Jacob and Emma in the woods where he basically comes clean and then is like, I'm the one that sabotaged the van because I just wanted to spend one more night with you and I'm sorry and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, look, I don't feel that way about you, dude. Like, chill. And then she's just covered in blood because she's back to being human. And they just sit there and it's like, let's just wait until sunrise. And they just sit there and she has like a back turn to him and stuff. But he apologized and came clean about what he did, and I got a trophy for it. So that was interesting.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my Jacob was long dead, so so I definitely didn't see that. I think Jacob died from
hated. Sorry,
what's
continue. That? I was going to say, the two of the characters I hated just happened to survive. So, whoops.
Thank you, Supermassive Games.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think Jacob died for my first playthrough too. I think I did the same thing. I just forgot about it, but. That's the credits. I mean, over the credits, you get a montage of everybody who lived and died, and it'll tell you just a little blurb, about what happened to them or what they're gonna do afterwards. And then you get to listen to a full episode of the podcast, Bizarre Yet Bonafide, as the credits roll.
Should we summarize where all the characters ended up for each other?
Oh, buddy, I didn't write any of that down.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, please, by all means.
So Jacob and Emma survived uninfected afterwards. Dylan survived, missing his hand because it was blown off. So because he also wasn't infected and never grew back. Laura survived after growing back her eye. Travis survived. Ryan survived. Abigail had her head ripped off. Caitlin was murdered on the rooftop by the werewolf. Nick was murdered by Laura in the cage. And is that all of them? That's it,
the
right?
Hacketts.
Oh, the Hacketts. All of the Hacketts died except for Travis.
Mine is a little easier. Everybody survived except for Jacob, who got mauled, Silas, who we had to kill, and what's his face? Caleb. Oh, and Kaylee. Caleb and Kaylee both. And Chris. Okay, so more people than I thought.
Yeah.
But as far as the main people, it was just Jacob.
So the other Hacketts all survived except for the dad and his 2 kids.
Yep. Yeah, I
Cool.
managed to get all of them to survive.
Nice. I basically
Even though they
destroyed an
tried to
entire
kill me.
family tree except for one.
You know, the kind of deserved after everything they've done.
I know. Animal rights activists and all.
Yeah. Wait, what did we say? This is an anti-animal rights podcast.
Yeah. Animals shouldn't have rights. Next, they'll want the vote.
Yeah. Madness. That's
Yeah.
that's what's wrong with America.
Exactly. And then they're going to have animal marriage after that. There's just no stopping this.
That's the Quarry. That's the whole game.
Yeah.
A bit of an abrupt ending, but all in all, like it's a pretty good game. I wish I wouldn't have paid full price for it at launch. I wish I would have waited for a sale. But I mean, who would you recommend this to, man?
Oh, anyone that liked Until Dawn or has any interest in these sort of choose your own adventure narrative style games, absolutely pick it up. I mean, you might not love it as much as Until Dawn or any of the other Dark Anthology ones, but that's just purely down to personal taste, I think. Because I think each of them have their own pros and cons and, whatever. If you like this style of game, it's definitely worth playing. It's not shit, like some people say, like, oh, that game's shit. It's not shit. There's some shit parts in it, but overall, I think it's really enjoyable, and despite having said that I hate a lot of the characters that are in it, I actually had a really good time. So I recommend it. It's fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, well said. I completely agree. If you have a partner or a friend or a sibling that's really into like horror movies but doesn't like games, this would be a great one to play together, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is it. And now that we're at the end, as always, I want to talk about your show.
All right, so my show is The Good, the Bad, and the Backlog. It is a podcast with myself and my co-host Kieran, who the whole premise of the show is that we're trying to work through our backlog of games and play through them, and every episode we just talk about a game that we've played and usually finished most of the time. And yeah, basically just riff on it, make some jokes, give it a sort of mini review, but it's very informal and very casual, so it's more of a book club style thing, as many of these podcasts are. But yes, if you'd like to find us, you can do so on our Linktree, which is linktr.ee/goodbadbacklog. And yeah, check it out.
And you'll find that link in the show notes as well. I'll make sure to put that in there. It's a great show. I really like it. It's one of my regular listens. Adam, what episode would you recommend folks check out if they're new to the show and they've never heard it before?
Oh, good question. There's so many that I find really funny that just don't get as much attention as I think they deserve. So maybe Firewatch is a personal favorite of mine. I also really like our Control episode, even though that's like quite a bit older. I think we're almost up to 100 episodes, almost. And that one is like episode 30 or 32 or something. But yeah, probably also Everybody's Gone to the Rapture seems to be our most popular episode for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, check it out. You can't go wrong with any of them, really, except for don't listen to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, because that one sucks.
I think you're the first guest on the show to outright tell someone not to listen to an episode because it sucks.
We lost a little bit of integrity, I think, with that episode, because the normal goal is to finish a game from the backlog, but both myself and Kieran did not finish that game, and we both hated it, so it just comes across as like a really unsatisfying discussion of a game that we didn't finish.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. I actually don't think I've heard that one yet.
Oh, don't listen to it. I think that was the beginning of the downfall of our losing of listeners, I think, even though the content has stepped up since then, I promise.
Well, hopefully some of the listeners here go check you out, because it's a good show. It's very funny. I enjoy it a lot. So you heard it here. You can find all of their stuff in their Linktree, which will be in the show notes. Check them out on Instagram and Twitter and Discord, wherever you can find them, Patreon, etc. You can also find all of our stuff there too. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Discord. The one that I really recommend is Discord. Please join the Discord. It's very good. It's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun there. It makes me feel like I'm doing something good by creating a space for people to hang out. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, and thank you for having me, by the way. I mean, it's been a long time coming, but I've been looking forward to being a guest on here for a very long time. So thanks for finally getting me on.
Of course. Yeah. No, it's my pleasure, man. A little peek behind the curtain. This, we weren't sure when we were going to be able to record this just because of time zone differences, right? Whatever time it is here with me, it's 15 hours ahead for you. So there was a bit of a last minute where you were like, hey, I'm actually free like this day. And I was like, oh, I've got to marathon this game, but I can do it. So I did, and I marathoned
You pulled through.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad that we were finally able to get you on. It's been a lot of fun. As long as we can make schedules work out, you and Kieran both are always welcome back. Always.
That is not going to happen.
Oh, right, because he's in the UK.
Yeah, trust me, UK plus US plus Australia, it just does not work. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we never have a US guest on with both of us at the same time. It's just timing wise is basically impossible. But yeah, I'll get Kieran to reach out to you and you can have him on for something else.
Hey, I'm open to it, man.
Cool.
That's about it, everybody. If you wouldn't mind giving us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict or Spotify, you can just rate there. We haven't got a new one in yet as of this recording, but I always read them at the end of the show. If there are new ones, really helps the discoverability, you know, the algorithm, the robot stuff. It's fine. So thanks again for sticking around. This was a long one. Thank you, Adam, for joining me on this awesome game. Not a perfect game, but a hell of a fun game. And I think we can both solidly recommend... I can't speak. I think we could both solidly recommend this to anybody that likes horror. So,
absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My name is Rick Firestone. I'm your host for Pixel Project Radio. No need to spray me down with silver bullets because I am 100% human. And I am going to go find me some peanut butter pops. So until then... I'm signing off for now. This definitely isn't a retake. I'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.
Goodbye.